try to look out. You know what I'm saying?
I respect that.
Respect
that.
Sire, respect the
I
movement.
appreciate that.
Respect the movement for the
Good job.
ladies, for the ladies.
Laura and them.
Laura and them, the doo-wop thing, do-wop thing. Look a shot, more fire. Yo, you know what I'm saying? Unpopular Opinions, episode 9. Episode Nizzle. Nueve. How you say 9 in both languages?
Nina.
Nina. Shout out to all the Ninas out there.
Not all the Ninas.
Yeah, that sounded crazy.
I got my Nina and I got my Nina with me.
All right, so I feel like whenever we have like a big group, we add one person. So I guess I didn't do it last episode.
We all chicks go around.
We should, right? So ladies first, because I don't want no problems.
Boss chicks rule, you already know it's a girl. Boss chick. Yeah.
It's cute.
Who we got to my right? Representing that purple rain pink.
You already know,
Purple.
baby.
I said purple rain pink. Purple.
Purple rain pink. Yeah, that's kind of you. Purple
rain P is in the
building. Shit, right? You already know, man. Carnegie Kid. You know, left side all day.
I guess they call me Omar King McCray. I'm really excited about today's episode, and I'm also excited about today's special guest. What's your name, brother?
Yo, my name is Randy, a.k.a. That's Him. I want to shout out to BX, Harlem. You know. Let's get it.
Yeah.
Cheer. All right, so.
Let's do something unpopular.
Yeah, keep it unpopular, as we always do. So I wanted to get in real quick to, everybody's week. I know everybody was pretty busy. I know, Raine, you had a busy week. You was buzzing. Buzzing.
Salute to that. Salute to the culture.
Salute. I'm tired of the, let me get this because it's funny. She had the bumba-clot internet buzzing. Bumba-clot.
Yes, man. Salute to J MILLZ making
yes,
his
return.
Salute.
Yes.
It's going down this Saturday, actually. November 3rd. Shout out to RBE, Red Breed Entertainment. J MILLZ versus K Shine, man.
Yeah.
That face-off just dropped today, too. So.
Yes, check that out. Check that out now. Rap Mac, they can catch it at, right?
Yeah.
Rap
No. Well, the face-off you can catch at RBE.
Okay.
Red Breed on YouTube. And yeah, check out all the interviews, though. Shout out to J MILLZ. I'm just going to say this about J MILLZ. Mm-hmm. He's kind of restoring a feeling that I feel like has been missing. And it's just that kind of like that street feel, where he's talking the talk because he's coming off, real, just genuine and authentic. And I think that's what's kind of missing. You know what I mean? I feel like people can write him off, but he's from that cloth. Like, he battled all of them. Head Ice, Loaded Lux, Murder Mook, Goods, T-Rex. Like, he's that era. So if he would have been battling, he would have been a top tier dude, I feel like. So I feel like, imagine if it's one of those guys, like, I think we're gonna get. He reminds me of Mook, but a different.
Yeah.
He's different. You know what I mean? Like, just not to say like more genuine, but I just feel like he's just real raw. Like,
Do you think he's ready to get back in that ring?
I think he is. You know why? What's scary, and this is why they all have to be afraid. I've never seen no battler quote bars like that. Like he's spitting bars from back then, even up to date. Even in the face-off, he did K Shine's bars. You know what I mean? Like that's a different kind of hunger. Like even though he's a street guy, to me he's like really a battle rap geek. Because you can't. That's kind of not that it's hard, but that's like some real historical shit. Like to be able to quote bar for bar. He knows these guys' bars. You know what I mean? So he's been studying the game. Yeah. And I think that's something to be.
It's safe to call him a hip hop historian.
Well, a battle rap historian, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. Because the way he's quoting the bars is just like, and if you check the interview out, it was like a real educational piece. You know what I mean? Like he dropped a lot of jewels, a lot of gems. And I don't think that the world or the battle rap world was used to seeing that in a while. Someone that just talks, just talks to talk and not not thinking about what he's trying to say or what he has to say. A lot of them, for one, I'm gonna say this: they don't have that hunger anymore. Even though a lot of them are performing at top levels, you could see a different kind of hunger because he has more to prove. He hasn't battled in 15 years, so. But that hunger, you know, and him being that, you know, from that cloth, I think that's what he's bringing back.
Okay.
They're not used to it. And I want to just say this too with the face off. Everyone getting that shine, saying that he's sunshine, and he was aggressive. But that's what kind of makes for a good face off when you have the one overly aggressive, and then you got the other guy just kind of like being subtle. Shine wasn't getting punked. I think he was showing him respect. It was like some real Harlem shit, you know.
And I can
Harlem love.
Yeah, and I can respect that these two battle rappers allowed you to get some questions out because the first face off you did.
Yo,
Murder Mook and A Verb. I was just like, yo, you was just sitting there just chilling, and they
you
were
know
just
why?
so
'Cause I had
like.
asked the questions, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't. Two things. I wasn't expecting them to be relying on me for questions for a face off. Like they were like looking to me like next question. I'm like, is this a face off or not? You know what I mean? And the other thing is keeping it real with y'all. Their energy was so like. It was a lot of. I don't know,
Diva?
testosterone. Not even diva. That too. I felt like if I said one thing for the other, then the other guy would get mad. I just felt like I was kind of like, and that shouldn't matter, but it was a different energy for me. You know what I mean? I'm used to doing face-offs, but more like in the street. And in the street, it's like different. Not like it's different, but you're in the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like you're all just talking shit, and you can easily egg the other person on. But with them, I felt like if I say yeah to him, he's going to be like, why you ain't say it to him? You know what I mean? Like,
So
it was just like, I kept
an unbiased energy, pretty much.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, and I will admit, it was kind of, to me, I'm a harsh critic, so I do feel like it, you know, I was kind of dead.
Yeah.
But they had a good back and forth, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
They had a lot of dialogue.
I just didn't think that they were going to like depend on me. Like in this face-off, you see that I can't ask the questions because they're going back and forth so crazy.
Yeah.
It's like they're not depending on me, you know, like so it's up to me to kind of like interject.
Yeah.
And I'm getting more more comfortable with that because it's different. I just feel like it's different when you're like live on a set. Yeah. So a different mindset is there too because you're like, it's about to go down.
Yeah.
You know, the cameras are on. You know what I mean? It's not like natural, like in the street. You know what I mean?
I mean, watching it, I just felt like I was comparing it to like these ratchet love and hip hop joints where the person who's pretty much controlling everything, they have to be so poised.
Right.
And the fact that you were so poised, even though they were just like, to me, A Verb, Murder Mook, they was just acting like pure divas at times. And it was just like you were poised about it, but I was like, damn, I would hate to be in that seat right now because
I
it's
wish
like,
I had
yo,
a drink, maybe a drink.
Yeah.
Would have been like,
I guess me knowing
I
you,
was standing there like,
I guess me knowing you, I knew you didn't really have that buzzwater.
I did not.
You didn't have that
and it was
buzzwater.
like, we were there for a long time.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know, it was just, I don't know. All I can say is when I watch it, I'm like, why didn't I say this? Why didn't I say that? But it's different than being there. Same thing with their face off, J MILLZ. And certain times I was feeling like, okay, why didn't I feel like I should have like egg shine on more? But when you watch it, it's still entertaining. You know what I mean?
I think maybe because he is the quote unquote favorite, I guess, right now, because the coaches kind of say Sean is gonna win. I don't think he wanted to come off that crazy aggressive with it too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
And I think MILLZ is a legend. Like you can't deny that. Like regardless of whether he was saying you got your style from me, regardless of what. If you was watching battle rap in the early 2000s, you was fucking with J MILLZ no matter what. Like you seen him, he put in the work. So like he's a legend, but Sean kind of got it for right now. Like he's proving that right now he could do it. So I think he was just kind of falling back and letting him do. I think like you said, it played well.
It played well, yeah.
It played well. Like both of them playing those roles of who they was.
But
played
that's
very
what I
well
hate about the culture, because all of the analysts are like, why was Sean? I wasn't used to seeing Sean like that. You're not used to seeing Sean probably how he really is.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning like,
used to seeing him rap.
Yeah, just like it's probably how he is on his block. It was like a regular like argument. It wasn't like
a block funny argument.
Yeah, like a block like go ahead, nigga. Like I don't care like
that's
that.
Some Harlem
shit.
Yeah, I seen
some
it.
Harlem
I seen
shit.
Some Harlem
That's
shit.
what I'm saying. The game is not used to just some real. It's sad, but this is some real shit, regular shit.
Yeah. But I think the internet reacting like that means that they won. Their whole promotion shit won because y'all played into us playing these two roles.
Right.
And you saying, oh, he punked them and they won. I think they sold it perfectly. I think it's going to be a dope-ass battle because, like you said, MILLZ been coming. He been away for a long time, so you know his balls is up. He been studying. So you know he got ammunition ready. And Sean brings it mostly every time. So I think this shit is gonna be fire.
It's gonna be fire,
Yeah.
yo. And then when he
I-
spit his own bars, I'm not even realizing that was even fire like that for back then when he did the whole MTV Direct Effect joint. That was that was a fire joint. I'm like, Mill's gonna have some shit, yo.
So, in your prediction, before you
You got to.
I'll be honest, yo. The face off. Every time I do a face off, yo, I never know who to give it to. Real talk. After Mook versus Verb face off, I didn't know to give it. I was going with Mook, but after the face off, even though people felt like Mook beat Verb in the face off, I still felt an energy from Verb that said that I can't call it. And that's how I feel with this, because real talk, I can go for Sean like everyone else, right? But I never wrote J Mills off from Rip because I know where he's from. You know what I mean? For J Mills, I don't know that he's going to clearly beat Sean.
Stranger shit has happened.
Right.
Because Sirius Jones, when he battled DNA, like, he washed him, in my opinion. I wasn't expecting it, but he washed him. I don't know if you remember that battle.
I don't remember that.
They battled like a while back.
Sirius Jones
Yeah.
was ill.
So I think what plays
battles,
plays into J Mills, he doesn't have that FaceTime with the crowd. So pretty much anything that he says that's remotely hot, close to it, they're gonna fuck with it. Whereas with K Sean, you know what you're gonna get with him. Yes, expected. So he has to come with something different.
He gotta come with. He can't beat. I'm glad you said that.
I don't
want to
see Professor Sean. I don't want to see that
He
again.
can't beat Mills with what he's been winning with even this
Exactly.
year.
He can't.
Like that high octane energy, it can't be. You know why? Because Mills kind of shot it down in the face off. So I'm glad you said that, because now it make me think like that might not be effective. Because he already said, "What you gonna do? You gonna gun bar me to death? Your gun?" So he already got it.
That was calculated as fuck.
That what you gonna
That
do?
was
You gonna make up
calculated
guns?
as
You gonna shoot me?
fuck.
You gonna shoot me? Like
How many times I'm gonna die?
Right, how many times I'm gonna
That was
die?
calculated as
Like,
fuck.
you gonna talk
I was
about the
watching, I was
band?
like, son, you
He
slick, bro.
cannot battle him.
He said, "You gonna
like
talk about the
that."
band? I didn't audition for the band. I battled
Son,
people on the band."
His
So.
shit was calculated, bro.
Right.
That's why I don't
Very
know,
smart.
That's what I'm
man.
saying about him. He's very
Yeah.
strategic.
man.
If gun in my head, I say Mills 2-1.
Wow.
I can see that.
Said
I
gun
can
in
see
my
that.
head, Mills 2-1.
I agree
I don't
with
know.
shit you
I would
said.
love to bet on this battle, but I don't know.
You can't really bet on a battle. Like,
I
you
wouldn't bet on
can't.
somebody
You
sitting
can't
on.
go.
You can't.
This is
bars,
a
though.
real Harlem battle. If you was in the live chat, yo, first of all, shout out to RBE's live chat. It was 3,000 deep.
That's
no lie.
dope as
3,000
shit.
people were in there
Shout out to that.
Super bomb.
talking mad shit. Guess what? They started doing Cash App battles in the chat, yo.
Wow.
But
Then
I don't
who's the
trust that.
deciding factor?
Yeah,
though?
exactly.
'Cause,
What's the
like,
deciding
I'm gonna be
factor?
like, nah, my nigga won. No matter what.
You can't
Like,
go by
but
Twitter.
You know what? Because I was trying to create this a while ago, like trying to see how to do this legally, but
Can't FanDuel it.
Can't the fans like?
but
Put money
it has
on
to
that.
be judged. Some battles can be live. It has to be judged live,
Yeah.
and you go off what the crowd and the people are saying.
I think, you know
The
what?
consensus wins.
So you don't, because you haven't given it clear.
I'm not. I can't. You know. I don't know.
Well, you put it on a platform like, because don't like with Instagram you do like and it shows the likes or something like that.
Mhm.
Or is
You
that-
could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
but
find
you
a
gotta-
platform that
that's-
does it on both
keep-
sides.
Yeah.
Whoever
Because
got the
that can
biggest
go-
online
Yeah.
presence is gonna win that.
Exactly.
It's no,
Oh
like,
yeah, I guess. No
Who you
mind.
got,
rigged.
Reef?
honestly, like I kind of, because he's been going for so long, I think his bars got to be super up, because we haven't heard shit from him for how long. We've seen so many Sean battles within the last year or 2 or 3. It's like, he's wasted some of his bars.
Yeah.
And like you said,
Yeah.
there's no really bar for J Mills, because he's
Yeah.
kind of almost forgotten. I mean, how niggas is forgetting him, I have no idea what the fuck
Yeah.
you're doing, but whatever. I guess some of these kids, they 15, 16 years old,
Yeah.
they weren't even alive when he was doing it. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
there's no real bar for him. And he been calculated watching the face off, man.
Mhm.
Like, I think his chess moves is, so
You say 2-1?
I could see 2-1. I don't think nobody's getting 3-0 or nothing like that. But like,
And
if
he's
I was
not
a
talking
bet,
that
man,
kind
I'd
of. So
say,
if you look about it, like Mook was talking 3-0, I'm a 3-0 Averb. I'm a 3-0.
I
Because
feel
he underestimated.
You
He
gonna die,
underestimated.
though. He's saying you're going to
He
die.
gonna die, but he not like yo.
I mean, if I'm battling somebody, I'm never gonna be like, oh, I might get you two. Nigga, you're losing every fucking time. It don't matter.
Right.
Like if I'm playing fucking Kobe 1-on-1, like bro, I'm about to bust your fucking ass, bro.
Right.
You gonna die? Like you know what I'm saying? It's,
Right.
it's always that. I don't.
But
give
you
a
gotta
fuck.
do it though after.
No, it don't
after the
matter.
game is
Even if I
done.
know, it don't matter though. That's what I'm saying. Like
That's
I'm
just
never
the
gonna get in
mindset.
no shit and be like, yeah, well, you might give it. Nah, you're getting nothing every
Exactly.
time. Like
Exactly.
so.
I mean, I feel you. You lost me at the Kobe 1-on-1 shit, but
Nah,
I feel
I
you.
meant that to put it in to make
It
it
was
so
an analogy.
obvious that I would lose. As you know, and I'm still saying I'm gonna win. Like when I have absolutely no chance to win, I'm gonna still say I'm gonna win, knowing I'm gonna lose.
I
But
think
still,
Mill's sitting on something though.
What you got? What you got, Randy?
I think Mills is sitting on something. I think all that time being out, you gotta have like at least 3 verses that's like phenomenal, ready. Like,
So you got 2-1.
I got 2-1 Mills.
You know what? Wait.
Wow.
Before we get to Q, we gotta take Q to a battle rap event.
Oh, word.
I go.
That
I
shit would be
listened,
dope.
but you know, so the first interview he wasn't letting you talk. That was my problem. I was coming at it from that angle.
Uh-huh.
Like I was listening, so
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
criticizing
yeah.
from a different
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
of view.
Nah, but
I'm
that's
not a
dope
battle rap
because
fan,
There's people that watch from that point of view. So.
right? Like I thought he was raw. He was calling whomever he battled back in the day. Y'all can't judge me. Don't judge me. I don't know who's listening. Don't judge me. I am who I am.
What? Bro, what are you
But I'm
talking
just
about,
saying,
man?
I don't know who he was talking about that he was battling, talking about Pineapple Crush, and that how
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
saying the
Yeah.
shit was whack.
That
But
was
I
terrible.
appreciated like how like real he was and how brave he not brave,
I
but
tell you what,
how
I'm
arrogant
dude.
he was to say he wasn't there for a long time. What?
No, I'm just
No, he
I'm
recite-
I'm
he
quote
recite-
I'm
That's
reciting
my
Castro.
son too.
Oh.
Shout
We
to
used to
Castro.
make
That's
we used
my
to make
son.
fun of him.
He hit me
All day.
up though. He wants a follow up.
The funny shit is that's my man cousin, and we was laughing at the shit for years
Yo,
before we even
we
knew
used
that
to
was
make
his
fun of
cousin.
that.
And
We used to
nigga
make
wound
fun
up
of that
being his
too.
Cousin, son. Hell
We used
yeah.
to squint our
That's
eyes like
my
that,
son,
put a
though.
hat down. I'm gonna tell you what I'ma do.
Like I'ma do.
Like I'ma do. Slushies.
Shout to my nigga Castro
No,
though.
shout
That's
to
my
Mike
nigga,
Castro,
man.
yo.
Shout,
sorry.
Shout to my boy. That's
I'm
my
Well, he
just-
nigga
tweeted.
though.
He was, he wasn't feeling. He felt like J Mills kind of,
Play him in this shit. Yeah,
I
I was
don't know
mad
that he
about it.
played.
I don't think he was
him.
talking. He was just stating the facts.
He was just saying like,
His truth.
You think he killed Castro like that?
Yes.
Son, I don't think it was that. I don't think he killed him like that. I
It was
think
it was
little bit
bad.
closer than
It was
that.
bad.
I say Mills won, but
He was taller than J Mills.
oh.
I'm
Okay.
gonna
What
tell
you
you,
were saying?
I'ma
I
do.
think Mills bars back then isn't gonna be K-Shine now, but I just imagine that the bars he got now after like being honest with himself and applying what's going on now and being real with himself, I think he's ready.
But to your point, and I was listening to what he said. He also said very profound that most battle rappers don't really say, who's left the game and came back. He mentioned like, yo, I'm gonna in synopsis, I'm gonna rap about what I've been around. You know what I'm saying? If I've been around such and such, even though the way he articulated was like
He said, I
long-winded.
got 3 pounds.
Yeah, he got
I know
three.
if I
I
could
yeah.
done seen
replace
shit.
my
Yeah,
passport.
you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
he's gonna come from a different perspective. And I
Definitely.
think that is what may kind of like, I don't want to say lose some people who are there, but like for the diehard, you get what I'm saying? For like the diehard battle rappers,
But
because
that reminded me of like Black Thought. though.
yeah,
So when Black Thought when he spit his infamous, Flex freestyle,
yeah,
some people were saying that it was okay or whatever,
Mhm.
right?
That shit
And I
was a
still gave it
masterpiece.
that edge over Lux. They felt like Lux, because Lux had a fire
Yeah,
freestyle.
it was
But
amazing.
Black
Yo,
Thought's
Lux
freestyle,
shit.
he's painting stuff like it still made Lux's more like the young gunner because Black Thought, he done seen the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's rhyming like
and he
like that.
didn't write it. I was told.
I believe that because
Yo.
he's so. Imagine
He
it
don't
makes me think
stop.
myself, imagine if
He's
you
in my
never
top
stopped
5.
rapping like straight and you rapped every day. That's what you could be.
That's lyrical exercise, as your boy
Right.
Hov said.
It is.
This guy right here,
Yup.
fucking Hov.
Black Thought was looking like Black God that day. I
But
ain't gonna
to
lie.
so we have to come to an agreement. We have to take Q to a battle rap.
Yeah.
Well,
event.
are you still
I'll
trying to do
go.
it this weekend?
I actually can't because I'm gonna be going away for my birthday. That's my
Oh.
birthday. You
Happy
know,
birthday.
big 3-4.
Aight.
Come back.
3, 4.
Okay.
Come back. We're gonna have
Happy
episode
birthday.
10. Thank you. Come back episode 10.
shit.
All right.
I'll definitely have
We're
some.
gonna celebrate that day though.
Definitely, and I'm gonna
wait,
celebrate again on.
Wait,
on
what day is your birthday?
Saturday.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah,
Saturday?
yeah. Saturday, but I'm gonna definitely have episode 10. I'm gonna have some Paul Masson. I'm gonna have
Paul
some
your
Masson.
Paul Masson, some Christian brothers. Drop a bomb for that.
Christian
Jack
brothers.
Honey, yo.
Listen, ain't nothing wrong with that Christian brother. Shout out to
For your
Christian
You need
brothers.
to stop promoting
Shout
them
out to
because
the
they
Christian
probably
brothers.
can't afford
Yeah.
to even
are.
give
You know
any
what's
little
crazy?
upside
I
over
can't
there.
wait till I
Job
get
done.
an email like, hey, you know what? I appreciate you. You know what I'm that. So that's for that. We're gonna give you a T-shirt
And a big
and a big.
You
big-
managing expectations.
Probably didn't cost more than $20.
Exactly. You ain't shit, Raine.
Christian
You ain't
brothers.
shit. But y'all was drinking it with me.
And we
True.
regret that shit. My stomach was like, oh no, you done
every
put this
cent.
bullshit in your body.
Drop another bomb for Christian brothers, please.
Wake up like I ain't Christian no more.
But yeah, man, I can't wait. Episode 10 is gonna be cool, man. But moving on, like you, Carnegie Kid.
What up?
I'm
what
sorry,
up?
because I always gotta stop and pause because I can't call you Reef. Carnegie
Nah,
Kid.
You can, but you know, Carnegie's kid, man. We tryna-
Carnegie's a kid, aka Lucky Lefty.
Yeah, you
Trip
know.
to Minnesota. How was that, brother?
Yeah, you know, I got to take the pilgrimage every year to go back to the Mecca, go back to Minnesota to see, Prince. They reformed the house into like a little museum now, so you get to walk through, see all the shit, like see the outfits and all the shit that I've been watching for years, like the stuff I was inspired by.
Yeah.
So it was dope.
Question, because I know Jay-Z touched on it on 444.
Yeah.
Like, is that something that Prince wanted, or is
See,
that something that outside entities monetized off of?
Me, initially, when I first heard the news, I was like, knowing this dude the way I feel like I know him, absolutely not. He did not want people in his home, because knowing him historically.
Right.
But the people that I've heard say, yes, he wanted Paisley Park to ultimately be a museum, I give it some validation. When
Okay.
Sheila E. is saying this, when Lisa and Wendy are saying this, when Morris Day is saying this, of course I'm not getting it from the horse's mouth, but I feel like they have enough loyalty to Prince that they wouldn't have us trespassing through his shit unless he really wanted it to be like that.
Okay.
So that's why I feel like it's cool, because I'm not for anything that's against the artist's wishes. I don't really listen to music that comes out after they pass away, because I feel like their artistic vision isn't on it. I make music myself, so if you can take my verses and chop it up and put it on whatever beat you wanted, but that's not my artistic vision.
Yeah.
That's not how I wanted it to be given to the world. So
Yeah.
anything that doesn't have the artist's
Stamp.
input on it or stamp on it, I don't really fuck with. Not to say Pac got some dope ass shit after he passed. Mike got some dope shit after he passed, but to me it's a little bit tainted.
So
That's not their finishing touch.
Yeah.
I was always curious because, like, when I remember, like, when I first, I'm gonna say it on the show. Like, I remember when I first met you, and we teamed up. We played in the Urban League.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I seen your picture, and it was just like you had like the Prince joint.
It was from the
Yeah.
parade cover.
I was like, yo, O'Neal, what is good with your brother?
Did you know what that was?
Of
off
course
rip,
I
though?
did.
Oh, that's dope though.
But then I was,
Fuck
of
with
course
you
I
for
knew.
that.
But then I was just like, yo, I was always curious after that. What made you fall in love with Prince like
I
that?
mean, I got a theory that everybody has a Prince number, whether it's 1 or whether it's 1,000. There's an amount of times you're gonna hear the music where it clicks for you, and it's like, oh shit, this is like you're gonna have that eureka moment. Luckily for me, my mom's is probably the queen of purple, like the super. You know what I'm saying? So ever since when I was conceived, I haven't gone, a week without hearing Prince since I've been in my mother's stomach. So
I grew up in a household where it was Prince or Michael Jackson. And my oldest sister, she loved Prince. She was the first person I called when he passed, because she was just like this avid Prince, fan or
That's
whatever.
dope. Shout
And
out
like
to her.
she loved him. So I just know in my household though, it was MJ. But we loved Prince, but it was just like MJ was played more. He was just like the third cousin in our family.
I will never,
Yo,
ever,
he
ever.
was-
Mike is
Like Prince
almost
coming
equal.
over from Minnesota. Our long lost cousin.
I mean, to me, Prince and Mike
Both cousins.
are equally as important.
man.
When I say
Definitely.
I have the picture of the Parade album, I have the same pic of Off the Wall. Like I recreated that cover too.
That's
Because
awesome,
Mike
bro.
and Prince are equally as influential to me. Like outside of my family, Prince and Michael Jackson are the biggest influences in my life, absolutely. But to me, Prince's music has more of a correlation to me as an adult. Michael Jackson was my love when I was a child, when things were really simplistic, when it was just, dancing and spinning around and all that. But as I get older and as life becomes complex and as you get into relationships with women and life actually really becomes, it's like these songs really mean, it's like, oh shit, I'm blown away. Like I was singing it for 30 years, but this shit means something.
You were singing Diamonds and Pearls?
Yo, my mom's I was singing down. Yo, Darling Nikki, which is one of the songs he actually stopped performing because he got, real religious towards the end, was one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, that was my shit.
Jump. I mean, when I was 9, 10 years old singing that, and that's
you wanna sing one real quick?
What?
Yeah, we're trying to envision you singing.
Yeah, can
you got like
not for nothing. For the past 5 minutes, I wanted you to sing it.
I knew a girl named Nikki. I guess you could say she was a sex fiend. I met her in a hotel lobby, masturbating with a magazine. He said, how'd you like to waste some time? And I could not resist when I saw little Nikki grind.
Down.
That was my shit. Nigga, I'm talking 7, 8 years old. That was my shit, dog.
I like Money Don't Matter Tonight. That was deep.
Yo, that's my favorite video ever. That's one of my favorite songs ever, man.
Nah, that's dope, bro.
I super love that dude. Like,
you are a kindred spirit, brother.
I mean, yo, bro, y'all know I'm a weird motherfucker. Like I tell people all the time, I have siblings. You know my brother, of course.
Yeah.
But I grew up in a house by myself. Like I'm my mother's only child. So basically, my entire childhood was just me being by myself and being able to pick through things and come to my own conclusions. So
that's what's up. Real question. I wanted to ask you guys. I just thought of this. Like, when did you first start listening to hip hop?
I started rapping at 13, so 12, 13.
I used to envy people like you, though, who can rap, who can play the piano. I used to hate that. Like, yo. I'm like, get out of my face.
You could have learned, though.
Nah, I mean, no, but when you were a kid, you just, you know what I'm saying? Like, people that used to be able to sing, you know what I'm saying? Harrington, I'm sorry, Q.
It's interesting. I don't know because I don't remember not listening to music, but hip hop. But I feel like I've always listened to like different types of music.
Yeah.
I used to be obsessed with like hip hop, especially like I can't even define the era, but I used to live in the Caribbean and travel back and forth, and I remember like wanting to take a piece of like the United States with me when I went back. So I used to like record on cassette tapes, like WKYS 93.9 in Washington, D.C., like what was coming on the radio because like that was time spent with like over the summer with my dad. So I remember like, what's Biggie's song? Shit, don't
Juicy,
judge me.
Warning.
Nah.
Hypnotized.
Is it Players Anthem?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that used to be my shit. And I used to like fuck up all the words to the song, but I had it on cassette. Like, I remember Usher, like all the time I think of you song being like one of my first cassette tapes that like I got, but it was for free off of the UTC campus, whatever.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Okay. What about you?
And I used to want to be a singer.
What? Really? So we gotta get you singing.
Nah, I didn't say I could.
She's
I just
mentioned
said I
that
wanted.
before.
She's mentioned that before,
I
though,
just
right?
said I wanted to be.
What about you, Randy?
Started at 12. Started making beats originally, and then it wasn't that many bars when you're listening to Sugar Hill and stuff like that. But as I got older, Rakim was like, he made me want to rap. Like after I heard Rakim and his perfectionism, like not even professionalism, perfectionism. Like each verse from the beginning to end just made perfect sense, and he killed it at the end. Like his last line was like right to the chorus. That made me love hip hop. So yeah.
What about you, Lucky Lefty?
Shit, it's crazy. I gotta shout out my mom again because I think my mom is like responsible for everything that I ever did. But as dope as my mom was with the Prince, like my mom's had rock and roll, but my mom's a super heavy with rap too. Like I remember when It Was Written dropped, we went to the store for her to buy the CD and for me to buy the cassette. But she'll always tell a dope story of she loved Slick Rick, so she used to play the record all the time. And when I was in the stroller, I'd be walking down the street, and, she'd be pushing me down the street, and I'd pop up, Dave, the dope fiend, shoot 10 dope, who dope, you know what I mean? And that was my line. She'd be like, yo, my toddler, you would bust that shit out in the middle of, like, library, in the middle of restaurants. Yeah. So, like, I can't remember a time not listening to hip-hop. Like, in the stroller, I was listening to that shit. So, like, that's everything. Like, at all times I wanted to listen to like music. Period. Like any kind, any genre.
Yo, that's crazy.
You remember more rhymes back in the day.
Yeah,
just
that's true.
Like trying to remember.
But I feel like back in the days, we used to write the rhymes out.
You had to.
We had no more. We had to.
You had to.
Yeah.
Like
learn
write
that
it
shit.
out
Like
and
that.
learn it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like.
Nah, I agree with that because I remember more like 90s hip hop than I know like current hip hop. Like I know Illmatic. That was the first album hip hop album that was pretty much exposed to. My sister's boyfriend at the time, he brought it over and he was telling my pops about this dude that dropped out of school and he just started rapping. He was from Queens, as a teenager or whatever. His name was Nas and he was nice. And I remember he played Illmatic. I was hooked. Like once I heard Life's a Bitch, I was hooked.
You know what? All right, I gotta be now. I can think of one album that really impacted me as a youngin. Is De La Soul. De La is dead though. Shit. That album was so fire to me because De La albums, and I don't hear this no more. It's like they used to like sample everything, but I mean even down to like commercials, like all types of different things.
Hell
it was like
yeah.
a long story,
Yep.
and it was just dope. And they had this one joint. You remember this joint? What was it called? I think it's Biddy's in the BK Lounge. All they do is beg and they scrounge.
Yeah.
And they were going back and forth with like basically this dude had worked in Burger King or whatever. It was just like a dope back and forth. And that also kind of inspired me because they had a girl rapping, but you could tell that like they wrote the rhyme. But it was just like a dope story. And when I first started rapping, all I did was tell stories.
Yeah.
Like that was like the thing.
That
like,
was the thing to do.
Right, just tell a story. You know?
Yo, hip hop was so dope back then, and that's probably why it's hard for me to have that adoration for hip hop now, because it's like, to me, you had to be really good. I don't know, maybe that's just me. You just had to be really good and stand out, like, you know what I'm saying?
You couldn't
like
even get on stage if you wasn't like.
So it's so disheartening to see, like, to hear like a Tekashi 6ix9ine saying he didn't put that much effort into that Fifi song. He just wrote it, and then that's what happened. So it's like, what are we doing? So when I think back, I always go back to that era.
It was harder, not to just bring my, it was harder for women. Like, so my era.
Just had to do it.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you had to be good.
Yeah.
So, real talk, they didn't respect me as far as rapping. I earned it, though.
Of course.
By the time I was 17, that's when dudes was like, yo, Shorty's nice. When I was
Shorty's
13,
nice.
they was like, you whack, you whack. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to earn it. And from that point of 17 on, I was in, like, every cipher just earning my respect, because back then, especially for a woman, you wanted that respect. You rap for the respect, even the dudes. That's what I liked about MILLZ too. He's saying, and Ice said it in the interview too, like, I'm rapping for the respect. It's not about the money. It's the respect on your name.
Respect
like,
your colleagues.
And that's how you got a name back then.
You wanted people to say you nice. Once people say you were nice, not that you was all right, not that you could rap.
Nice.
And that's in
that nigga
everything,
nice, you know what I
especially
mean?
like with basketball, everything.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm
Like,
saying?
you're nice.
I don't
He's
want to hear I'm
nice.
decent, motherfucker.
Yeah, I
I'm
want to hear
nice.
I'm nice. Once I
That's
started
why I
hearing I'm
always-
nice, that's when I
Right.
kept with it.
That's
Yeah.
why I always say for girls that that's all I ever had to hear. I don't care about losing. But once if I'm leaving there, yo, shorty, you nice, yo.
Yeah.
Like I stood
Got
out.
respect.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
So, Raine, you think you're slick, right?
Motherfucker,
So I
yeah,
seen
you're
what
slick.
you tried to do. So you
Transition.
want to just get on it. I know what y'all trying to do. Yo, you know what they did? They probably linked up. They probably linked
you
up.
trying to label
Y'all had
this a
y'all
setup?
own. Y'all had y'all own. You can't get no more. No more. No. They
I
linked
was,
up.
man.
You know what I'm saying?
This is
They had their
setup.
own group chat. I get it.
chill.
They call it the Q&A. I got you. So we can get right into
Yo,
it.
drop a womp womp to that.
No, you know what? You know what? I'm gonna drop my own shit.
What?
There we go. Drop a bomb to that.
Got bombs, no
They
more.
No,
call
but
it the Q&A.
I wasn't. It just came. I've been
Nah,
corny
I'm
all
rocking-
day.
I'm rocking with you.
I've been on corny. I've been corny all day, man. Nah, but so we can segue right into it. So you brought up a good topic to discuss, because it was just a snippet, and it was sexism, pretty much women tell all books versus misogynistic men in hip hop. So I was curious to know the ladies' standpoint, and for the listeners, you're gonna hear the ladies a lot, right? So I don't know if that
sexism
sounded
in
bad.
hip-hop?
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that exactly? Do you feel that is that like a catalyst as to why women are not taken seriously as MCs in hip hop because they are objectified so much in rap videos and in lyrics? Boom.
No,
That was a good question.
I don't think that they're not taken seriously because of that reason.
Okay.
Like I was saying, well, it depends. Like I was saying to you earlier outside, it's not just in rap. I feel like in hip hop media too, there are women that are in position that are not speaking their mind. So when you look at them, most times they're hired because they look a certain way, or maybe they actually are educated.
Yeah.
But if you notice that too, they're educated or they went to school for it, but then they don't voice their opinion. They're there as moderators. Even in sports, you notice that. Like, on ESPN, like you have this like
that first take, Molly Qerim. Yeah.
And I've heard that. I watched a couple times, and I'm like, why is she not voicing her damn opinion? Like,
and she has an opinion.
Exactly. Voice your opinion.
The thing that pisses me off about that specifically is there are certain ESPN shows, I don't want to call them out, that have the token female, and it's whack because there are so many women on ESPN that actually know their shit. They tried to blackball Jamel Hill. They won't have Jackie McMillan. They won't have, you know what I'm saying? But I think like Michelle,
good.
I think Michelle Beadle is corny as fuck, and she don't really know nothing about nothing.
I don't
She's
like
just
her.
A token blonde white girl that they just try to throw up there.
I like
There's
Rachel Nichols,
So many
though.
chicks, Rachel Nichols. So many chicks on ESPN that know their shit, that stand toe to toe with any of those male analysts. I think the male analysts on ESPN are whack, but whatever. I think they more personalities than know their shit. But I think that shit is so whack. Just trying to throw
But
because
some
they
of
a
that
pretty
is the
face.
woman's
Like,
fault too. Is what I'm going to say about sexism.
Why?
Same thing. So I'm going to use Remy as an example, on the
Go
show.
ahead.
Now, everyone was in awe of her simply because she did what? She spoke her mind. You're not used to seeing a woman in hip hop, even though, like we're here, it's not a lot of us, but you're not used to seeing a woman speak their mind. So everyone was like so in awe of Remy until she started like saying to me like other types of shit where you like, okay, now it's like, all right, you speaking your mind, but you have no I don't know what the word is, but some like me, I don't like her. Her overall viewpoint is, I oppose it most. I like the fact that she does speak her mind, but that's the whole thing. Why aren't women speaking their minds?
So it's interesting because as you asked that question, it made me think about like women in hip hop wasn't always like that, right? Because when you think about MC Light, when you think about like Queen Latifah when she put out shit like Unity and stuff like that, who you calling a bitch, like.
she was fire.
Like these women, they didn't need to objectify themselves or be objectified in order to be heard, right? After a while, it was about what we were promoting and what dominant culture told us was selling, right? Because we were all feeling that shit. Like that was the music that I remember. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like that's the shit that I was feeling. That's why I respect artists like Queen Latifah and anything that she does. That's why I respect Lauryn Hill. Like even from like the score, right? But that's not what was promoted, right? No one respected that. That's not what we told people sold. When you speak about people being moderators, like they might be intelligent, but that's not what sells because entertainment is what's selling, right? Drama is what's selling. So let people like be dumbasses and say stupid shit, and that's gonna sell more than you saying something that makes sense. And people have become accustomed to that. We accept that. It becomes this groupthink culture. So everybody hops on it. And it's like, oh, fighting sells. So let's do love and hip hop. And then Basketball Wives and all other types of versions of the stupid shit.
Right.
And so then when somebody starts speaking their mind and like sound intelligent, questionable, right? It disrupts what it was that we were dealing with. And then people and then it's a new thing to catch on. Ain't nobody come to disrupt it with something that's worthy enough yet for people. You know what I mean? Like, who was it that started? Like, Lil' Kim started that trend, right? Why haven't we gotten the fuck out of that yet? Like this Lil' Kim, Foxy Brown, like sex sell shit.
Nobody's dope and a female at the same time like Lauren was. Like Lauren set the bar for that shit.
They're out there.
But then you can't be too dope because they
like,
go at your credentials. They check if you're original or not, if you're writing your own shit, or if you're this or you're that. So it's kind of like a slippery slope.
I don't think the women are supporting it the way.
But that's the problem.
That's
women also too. Now I'm gonna say this too. Even with myself, I saw comments today like about me hosting or whatever, and not just a comparison, but more so like but why is a woman doing this? That's what someone said. Like, why is a woman
Yo,
doing this?
you love.
He was like, I could go to exactly because someone has
That's
said,
that
shout out
sexism
Bush
shit
Chick
we
Wayne.
talking
Right,
about.
it's blatant.
That's sexism.
Someone said shout out Bush Chick
I'm on y'all
Wayne,
side.
and then he came out and commented, well, you know, when I go to, it's two things, sports and battle rap. Like, basically, I don't want to hear from no fucking woman. Like, I'm like, really?
What?
Even now, I'm like,
Without
some
even
super
knowing your
sick
dumb
credentials.
ass
shit.
up, man. Word.
Nah.
But that's how some guys feel.
You're right, and the reason why I feel like with that conversation, you can speak more or less to that, Raine, and you guys can chime in. But with Joe Budden, when he made that comment, so pretty much he was just saying he spoke about the whole what did he say? He mentioned like as far as like the movement, the Me Too movement. Am I wrong? What did he say, Raine? Do you know more or less?
No, 'cause I only saw the clip.
It was just the clip. That's what I'm referring to.
Oh,
He
so
was just talking about
basically, well, I'm gonna say this. I left a comment on that, right? Because the way I
And
heard
boy,
him,
did you.
right? Because I feel like just with this whole thing, podcasting, you know, as his platform in particular is growing. Everyone though, because you do a podcast, it does not make you like
The authority. over
the
something.
authority and
Yeah.
shit. You know what I'm saying?
He does
Everyone
that
is
a
like
lot.
is feeling like they are entitled to this title, but you're not if you're not doing the due diligence. Like, and you're in a journalistic. We all are. We're in a journalistic field. So it's kind of like my comment to him was stop being so loose with your words because his platform is so big. The youth are rocking with him. You gotta like be exact.
Responsible.
And be responsible. You just can't be saying shit all out because he basically said, "Well, fuck this, fuck that, that fake women's
Women empowerment.
bullshit," is what he
Yeah.
said. And then he said, "Because women empowerment is when women back women when they're wrong, right?"
Yeah.
But they told me that I misquoted that he said when they're wronged, and I still don't know. I mean, I said fair enough. Even if he said that. He led with a negative connotation. Like basically, it's some bullshit. But why is it bullshit? And that is misogyny because this is the misogyny, right? And the sexism. It's when you ignore the faults or, you know.
When you discredited an entire circumstance based off of like something that's flawed in the system. So you say that a person can't like. Nobody can pull the black card because it was one fucking person who like pulled the black
Obama's
card
president.
wrong, like incorrectly or whatever the
Yeah.
case is. Is that where you were going?
No, but I like you can
Stop, my bad.
No,
because
pass the ball to you.
because I don't.
It's gonna be a lot of passing
I didn't
the
listen to the
basketballs,
comment.
please, ladies.
Because I don't be listen. I didn't listen to Joe Budden's or whatever the fuck he said because most of what he says probably don't be making sense.
I think he enjoys being
Yeah.
able to just freely have
I
a
agree
shock
with you.
value statement that will
Clickbait.
with no responsibility. But you're too loose with your word. You can't. He has a podcast and you have the show.
And that's gonna last but so long, in my opinion.
With the show.
Not the show, but him doing that, him keeping that method of just saying shit for shock value and adding
He can't
passion
do
to it.
that
because
it's
he's
too
going to discredit
loose.
himself.
Exactly.
You
He's
can
going to
see
discredit
Good point.
himself.
Good
he usually
point.
laughs after everything. Like he says,
In
it's
this
crazy.
climate,
But he
though,
wasn't laughing after that.
It's
He
all
wasn't. He
about
was
clicks.
serious.
Yeah, he was very
But that's
clear
the
on
whole
that.
Which is
thing. This
true.
about, but it should be about credibility. And if,
Yeah,
if
it
you're not
ain't.
gonna be credible, then yo,
But I
Shut
think,
up.
but I think it already has its impact, right? Because most
Right.
people
Yeah.
most people are tired of hearing what he has to say anyway, and I think people just listen to it for the entertainment factor, like because
That
nothing because there's not really any substance and like. My bad, because I ain't do my due diligence because I didn't listen to what the hell he has to say to know that there's substance. But I know ain't no goddamn substance from what he said.
any advice. You cannot
Just saying.
It's
2 points,
substance
fellas.
because he's talking about what we're talking like pop culture and things like that. But the problem to me is when you're voicing your opinion and it's like a thin line
Yes.
because then people take your opinion as fact.
Mm.
That's my problem,
When you have a
especially when you
platform.
have a young demographic as well, like watching you. Especially when you have young people following you, I just feel like you gotta be like, say what you want to say, but let them know, the difference between the
Use a
fact,
disclaimer,
right?
like this shit
There's
ain't fact.
no disclaimers. That's my problem, even with that. The same. I'm about to go on a tangent.
He
but
does that very seldom, but I get what you're saying.
No, he does that often to me.
No, as far as like seldom he does that. When he gives a disclaimer like, "Oh, I'm not sure if it's true." He
Right,
doesn't do it often.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't.
Oh,
Oh,
caught the Holy
Even if
Spirit.
it is, the way he speaks, it's gonna make it seem like it's true. Like,
Yeah, he speaks with very much conviction.
Yeah.
But with that, I have a question with that, and this is for the ladies. Q, I'm sorry if I cut you off.
no, it's okay. Go ahead.
Do you guys think it's okay for women to do that though, in comparison to men having these songs about giving girls Molly? Well, women are no, I'm just pointing at you because you
Giving girls Molly.
no. You just over here.
I mean, Molly, you know what I mean?
See, but that's what happens when you defend a statement.
It
That's what happens when
it
you
came across
That
like
was a joke
you did.
statement. That was a joke statement.
Yeah, my bad.
Yo, goddamn.
My bad, bro.
Allegedly.
Hey, just want to put that disclaimer out there. Sharif, a.k.a. Carnegie Kid, Lucky Lefty, does not condone Molly's given to women.
Never.
Not him.
Not this guy.
No, not me.
Not him.
Not me.
No, but what I'm saying, do you guys have a problem with women as far as who's been in the industry giving these tell-all books and naming names? Are you okay?
I'm like biting the inside of my mouth or something.
Ay, Dios mío.
Yeah. Me personally, and that was the main topic that they got. I think it is corny in general for men and women to expose people. However, I don't have a problem with women doing their tell-alls because the issue, and this is what she was trying to say, which I didn't appreciate how he violated, and I did not appreciate Remy just sitting there not saying shit either, like watching the whole shit. I thought that was whack.
I think she purposely let that ride.
I mean, she did, but you could tell in her face that she was that she was like, let me see how she's gonna like. That was whack. Stand up, because even if you have an opposing opinion, I didn't like how they tried to fry her, and then with the clip. That clip where he's barking on her, all the dudes, like all the dude rappers, they all left comments like, she's been, I hate that too. She's been hurt, or why she gotta be hurt? Because basically, this is it. He's saying that it's wrong. She was saying that it's not an issue with women writing tell-all books. And honestly, I don't feel like it's an issue either, because for the most part, the rappers, you're degrading women for the most part. I mean, there's not that's a stereotype, but it's pretty much a fact. You know what I mean? The guys,
and they have issues with like them monetizing, but like it's no different than like Trump putting out a tell-all book or somebody else putting out a tell-all book about like Obama's presidency or Trump's presidency, right? Somebody's capitalizing off of drama. It just happens to be, again, like this goes back to Like, I guarantee you probably can tie a lot of things, 6 degrees of sexism, but definitely 6 degrees of racism. But the reality is it becomes a problem because it's a woman capitalizing off of sex, right?
Right.
And, like, you're not supposed to capitalize off of sex. Like, a man can take advantage of, like, you in that act, but you're not supposed to capitalize off of it. Right. So, of course, like, you're condemned. Now, I don't support it, but I don't see it to be any different than somebody capitalizing off of drama, right? If you're going to have a problem with that, have a problem with that. Don't be one-sided about it.
We're talking about R. Kelly did this girl that's coming out with that stuff, right? Am I mistaken?
Well, just in general.
I think he said in general. He thought it was whack that these girls are. But why?
I think it's whack when you bring in like personal business, like, you know, if we was kicking it, whatever, and we had sex or something, and then you just come and telling all my secrets. I think that's crazy, and I think that's corny.
No, there's
the R. Kelly shit. That shit is warranted. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's some more extra
like,
wild
what's
shit.
The story behind this?
Yeah, like I take that as an exception. I don't want to hear like about people's personal lives when you bringing shit out. I think that's corny. The R. Kelly shit is warranted.
There's a chick that was
she needs to come out with that.
There's a chick that's coming out with a book who said that she slept with Colin Kaepernick and a couple others, and she tells that he made her pay for her own. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
but still,
talking about too.
But
so
and like
I mean,
exactly,
again, I feel like the accountability has to be made on the men at the end of the day.
How so?
You know who you fucking. Like, make better decisions. Like, you chose to have sex with this girl who's ending up gonna like tell you a story. That there is some accountability.
Make better decisions.
Non-disclosures don't.
But why do we have to? But why? First and foremost, like, why we got to speak on behalf of all of them, right? There's shitty people, or people do shitty shit in every group.
No, but I'm saying
why we got to speak on behalf of them.
But the same thing for women, though.
Right.
I'm saying it goes both ways. Like, make better decisions. The same way.
Yep.
First of all, we know this for a fact. Even though in the industry it's tell-alls, dudes run their mouths just as much. You know what I mean?
Shout out to
I've
40.
seen more dudes.
Shout out.
I've seen just as many dudes run and tell after they got the buns the
Leaking
same way.
nudes and shit. Like, that's the
Leaking
biggest
all
whole
of
shit
that.
ever.
Like, that's what I'm saying. It's a part of it. Make better decisions.
But we tell our boys we don't write books though.
That's
That's
true.
not the
No,
point.
we
Like,
got
if you
about
go,
two homeboys
if
that
it's supposed
we
to be a
might tell.
code and you're supposed to shut the fuck
That's-
up, just shut up.
Nah,
Yeah, but we don't write a book
Don't
though.
tell nobody. It don't
Dudes be
matter.
leaking nudes when they get hurt though, and that's super corny.
That's corny.
That's
I'm
wild.
I'm glad. I was.
Yeah,
Not,
even
I'm,
telling your
I can't
boy,
respect
like,
that.
corny.
certain dudes I know won't like. You'll tell your man that you know is gonna have respect, especially if it's a girl that you're trying to show respect. That's whack. I don't think
Yeah.
that dudes realize that. And that's some chatty patty shit. Why are you telling everybody?
Word.
You could have got more ass, but instead you went and ran your
Word.
mouth.
Word.
I didn't say
that's
that's what
funny.
we do on a regular. I said we
No,
would do
I'm
that
saying
before we
my
write a
opinion.
book.
I feel like
about
dudes run their mouth
something.
just as much as girls.
So it's a topic. Don't judge me. This is the topic on love and hip hop, right?
Yeah,
Love,
Sorry.
hip hop.
I work a serious job. Sometimes I gotta watch shit.
You get another
So
Russell.
there's a character who went back and told one of his boys that stop.
What?
There's a character that went back and told one of his boys that the wife, not only slept with the dude Safari, but might have slept with somebody else. Right? And I guess homeboy went after him and was like, it was some punk ass shit that you did that. But he said it was some punk ass shit that she was bragging about sleeping with a man's wife.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, with that particular circumstance, how do you feel about, like, the going back and forth shit?
They
Does
both
it matter?
chatty
They both
patties.
chatty patties.
Like, shut your mouth up.
And
like,
you on a
shut
TV
up.
show. Like,
And even with that,
And you on a TV show. Like,
even with that platform, Love and Hip Hop, there's no love in it, right? And the whole thing is too, it's perpetuating that whole thing that we're talking about. Even with not even with just love, but just the fact that women are just seen as doing two things. They love brunch, and they love to fight over bullshit. And it's like, the third one. Let's not forget the third one. They have like music coming out.
right.
You know what I'm saying, that they working on, and it
That don't be coming
never
out.
comes out.
Exactly. You
And
be
it's
who
just
is
like,
this?
yo, what are you trying to do?
Shout out to Cardi B who made something of it.
yeah.
But that's the whole look, like the whole stripper/rapper, stripper/housewife,
And
stripper/
that's my
There's no
point.
regular
Everybody's
hip-hop
just an entertainer
woman,
now.
like, you know what I'm saying?
Until they start taking themselves serious and getting themselves out of that avenue, that realm,
Well,
I don't see men taking them serious.
let's get back to another topic because
Oh,
last
shit.
week y'all were talking about basketball, right?
Yeah.
And you were talking about like women's basketball and how women's basketball wasn't as popular as men's basketball.
That was him.
And I also heard you speak about like how like basketball NBA almost went bankrupt in the 70s and things of that
Yeah,
nature.
when it was 20
Yeah.
years in, as in the WNBA is like 20 years in now. So
Yeah.
And
Which
the
segues.
thing that I had for that is like similar to around this thing because it was like, oh, why isn't the WNBA as like popular? Because women are as talented, right?
definitely.
And the thing is, like, it's what we make popular, and I think like we as in the community underestimate like this idea of like making things popular. And all of these things are influenced by like the shit that goes on in the society. Sorry, y'all had me worked up as I was listening to last week's episode.
True.
But like when we sit down there and ask questions, and I had some shit for you talking about it wasn't your responsibility.
To
She-
do what?
She
Sorry,
had
it's
shit
all
for
coming back
Carnegie.
to me.
Turn
It's all
up.
coming back to me now.
See what you did, man?
But back to the NBA, like the NBA thing versus the WNBA thing. Like I think the reason why the WNBA isn't as popular is because we're not investing as much energy, and that's because we allow patriarchy and like men to be more popular about that shit, or to men's sports to have more value and significance, and like that's problematic. That's something that's us with society, right? And it's something that like we're all. I don't even think we recognize that we perpetuate that bullshit. Sometimes when I like listen to some of my friends speak, sometimes when I listen to myself speak, and the shit that I say, Like, we perpetuate that shit.
Of course.
We don't make it as popular. We're not going out to WNBA games. We're not supporting the women's basketball players in the same way. So when we ask those questions, like, sit back and think about what the fuck you're doing.
Right.
I mean,
for real.
I do. Everybody knows me. I love me some WNBA, yo. I watch.
I want to see some WNBA cards.
I meant we as in a society.
Yeah.
I meant we as in a society. I think we as a society don't recognize like how powerful we are, and we sit down there and allow like men's basketball to be more popular, right?
I mean,
why the fuck wasn't Lisa Leslie as popular? Now, don't get me wrong, I don't understand stats in the same way. One of the things that I did want to look up was stats, and I didn't get a chance to. I know that because that's how you come with credibility, right?
She was as dope as anybody.
Due diligence.
But the point is, like, why she didn't get no sneaker deal?
Well, Cheryl Swoops got a sneaker deal,
Nah,
and
some of them did.
some of them did. It was just a matter of. You're right. But here's the thing, though. And we mentioned this the last show. I just think the narrative, the story. I think that's what that's what keeps the NBA going. Like when that new person comes in, LeBron James, high school phenom. They ran with that narrative. What they donned him, the King James. You know what I'm saying?
But I think you can do the same thing
I
with women.
agree.
It's
That
just
was-
that we
that
don't
was-
want to promote the storylines. Sorry, no, and I'm not disagreeing
Yeah.
with what you're saying. I'm
'Cause
just
you
saying,
coming
like,
ready.
no, I was thinking about this as y'all were talking.
Yeah.
Like as I was listening to last week's episode.
Yeah.
And the thing that got me worked up was that like we underestimate like what the fuck we make popular and what we don't make popular, and how influential like patriarchy is on society.
Right.
And your comment last week was about how, because it was going back to that article about like black men being the white men to black women.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, that was.
even though I understood the undertone of that, I didn't particularly agree, which is why I definitely did like that follow-up article,
Okay.
because I feel like white supremacy and like that's a different type of influence, right? But what I understood it to mean is that like the same way where you sat down there and you said like, oh, that's not me, like I don't have anything to do with that. When we sit down here and we still perpetuate like sexist ideals, right? We even go back to the conversation about like rape culture. When we sit down here and like it becomes it's so simple, it's so like easy for us to say like, or for us to ignore the fact that Rick Ross has said some reckless ass shit.
Right.
That's us
Yeah,
perpetuating
she
the
ain't even
bullshit.
know it.
And like in the follow-up article, I don't know who the fuck the author was, but they were talking about like how black women were like the bottom of society. Even though I agree with that, for real, society will never be like together unless we like make it right for the transgender, disabled black person who can't fucking move, right? Because like we're always gonna find a way to like there's always going to be a way to seek dominance on somebody else.
Q,
And
you
then
had
we'll
your
turn to the animals.
Q. You had your first rank. Give it up.
Yeah.
For Q. Give it up for Q.
Oh, my bad. It was
That was good.
no, but y'all.
It's good.
Thanks for chocolate.
Y'all had me.
You had your first
Y'all
round.
had me worked up in the car. I was like, yeah.
Do you know who Brittany Griner is?
Who?
Exactly. They see it. Now that's a woman that could dunk.
Oh, she a basketball player.
but
Never
nobody.
mind.
But y'all don't get
She
behind
went
it.
to
Y'all,
Baylor.
that should be y'all LeBron right there. That should be.
But here's the thing.
No, you're right.
It should be y'all should be rocking the jerseys. Like we got a girl that could dunk.
They
You right.
tried. They tried this past season.
What's her name?
Brittany Griner. They tried this past season to like infuse the NBA. Like they had NBA stars saying, you know, other WNBA stars, you know, names and why they're, you know, just pretty much getting them
So
ready.
let me tell you why I know her.
That was.
Wasn't she married to some other girl and there was some controversy around
Yeah,
it?
she is.
And that's
Her
why I
wrestling
know her,
good.
right?
Yeah.
And like it's up to me naturally to go look and seek like information, but that's the shit that
Yeah.
they put out about her.
Right.
That's why I know her.
But I mean, in her defense, she was kind of a big deal coming out of Baylor. You know what I'm saying? She was pretty much known to be the next big thing. However, I stick with that. Like I've been pretty much trolling this dude Carnegie with like articles of like, you know, Kobe Bryant's daughter, and then like there's these two twins from UNLV, and they're supposedly good. And here's the thing though, like it starts with that story, and maybe you just have to find that lane and run with it and just see where it takes you, because you know it's a dope product. You know what I'm saying? It's been happening for some years, but I just think that in order for them to get where they need to be, they need to like change up a couple things, because I feel like the WNBA sooner or later we will be talking about it, you know, not existing, and you have their players going overseas to get more money. You know what I'm saying? And
They make
it's
money like a regular
unfortunate.
job.
And like
Yeah.
I even think about like the movie Love and Basketball and how much like everybody loved that movie back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm just understanding like the storyline with like Sanaa being wherever the hell she was playing overseas, right?
Yeah.
But like what they promoted most about that film, particularly with her being a basketball player, was like her character being in love. Well, see, this is me going down a rabbit hole of like what it is that we promote and what it is that like we want to be in the forefront of the story as opposed to like the underpinnings. It's like I don't know why it is that it's so difficult for the world to put like men and women on an even playing field. Oh, so back to that analogy, right? Mm-hmm. So when she sat down there and said like how black men were like the white women, I think that's untrue. I don't know if you guys ever heard about like the first versus second wave of feminism and how they said like white women had the potential to kind of like move the culture forward for white women and black women, but then they kind of left us behind. That's what I feel about black men with black women as opposed to like them being like white men. Does that make sense?
Explain.
But that's what the article was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or wait, which one? Which one are you talking about?
I think they all were.
The initial one is basically saying, because if you, in the article, he didn't really follow up on the title. It was more so about what you just said, that black men are kind of like leaving black women out of the
picture.
Yeah,
I
the
think
struggle, the fight.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of black men, especially a lot of conscious men, I feel like they think that they act like they can do it on their own, but you can't. You can't.
So let me ask you guys this question: do you think male privilege is the same as white privilege? And
it's similar.
I think it's pretty dominant, right? For me, a society that believes a woman has a place, but still can't define a place for a man, like. That's problematic, and that exists amongst all cultures.
You don't think the place for a man is defined?
Not necessarily, because I feel like men can go anywhere and it be okay, right? A man can be a mama's boy, but then still be revered as a man.
Right.
Like later.
I mean, there's certain things that as a man, if you do, you kind of, if you're a male flight attendant, people looking at you funny. If you're a male nurse, people looking at you kind of funny. There's certain things that's not,
not
and it's bullshit. It's bullshit, but it does exist too.
Shout out to Gaylord Fokker.
Gaylord Fokker. Yo, like if a man hits a woman, he's not a man, right? But if a woman hits a man, it's no like. It's no judgment on her. Like
we was discussing outside, like the reverse sexism. Reverse sexism.
But I think that is the fit.
No, that's because you don't feel as though the hit is hard enough, or you embarrassed to go report that shit.
But now the physiology of it is like, and I'm not trying to play women or nothing.
Nah, because
my physically
my right and my jab is pretty.
Right.
My jab is pretty decent.
But let's
right?
dig deeper. Why
I might feel like you got little veins.
But why the fuck you trying to hit a man anyway?
Yeah, I think that shit is ridiculous either
brought
way.
Up that analogy. All we doing was going with it.
No, I'm just talking about y'all here, ladies. So I'm just like, why?
When y'all hit a man, the same way
I
a
don't
man
think
loses
that.
points.
I mean, it's wrong both ways. We do know that. And but. The but for me is that
there's a but.
There is a but.
Fix my damn chair.
I'm just saying that. I'm not saying that. I think it just depends. To me, I only ever give men the right to hit back if
a weapon is used.
I don't know. Just it has to be such an extreme.
Well, if it's to a point where you have like
if
you have like a gun, of course, and I'm trying to like, and there's no like way to escape, and I know I can try to like maneuver, I'ma slap the shit out you. Then that's it.
I mean,
that's different.
You know what? Case in point.
That's the analogy. That's the best
Dead
one.
Presidents.
Yeah.
When I felt like he had a right to smack her. She violated, and she didn't touch him. But that was just so disrespectful that when he smacked her, I was just like,
you felt it.
Yeah,
he deserved it.
She earned that.
So
I'm not justifying that.
I know you're not. Let's put that out there. You're not justifying it.
I'm just saying that it was sometimes women do things that can push men to a certain place. Doesn't justify the hit. All I'm saying is I just respect the man that can walk away.
Do you?
The man that can walk away is the strongest. Is the stronger man.
Do you think?
Well, any person
that
any person that can, right? Because the reality is, like, in any given situation, you don't know what a person's reflex is.
Right.
And I tell people that I know, like, I don't give a shit if it's a man or woman. Don't hit because you don't know what that person's reflex is, and I can't be controlled for my reflex, right? So the reality is, like, just try not to hit. Period. Right. Man or woman, right? And I think it's okay to just move with that stance, or whatever the case is. And on the flip side of that, if a chick hits a guy and like his reflex cause her to get like slapped the hell back, I don't think it's right.
Bloody
but
nose.
I understand because
But
like
you understand.
you
But
might have
if-
just popped me in my nose.
But if y'all playing, I mean, I guess there's, but I'm just
Playing
saying,
is different.
playing is different. But I just think that women and
They'll tap that jaw.
black women, I do feel that there's this stigma where black women are aggressive, more so aggressive and emotional,
It
and
had
that's
to be
why.
to survive, though.
Yeah, but I
Right.
get that. But here's the thing: it works
Shit's
against them
hard
as
out
well
here.
because then it's like they come off as independent, and then that's when the reverse sexism comes in because you want to be
I
independent.
think that's a stigma because
How so?
I don't even think a lot of black women are necessarily like that. I can name all of my friends like they could be. I just feel like that's just something.
But
that's
y'all get
attached
upset
to us.
when we date outside of our race.
I don't really get. I'm not really.
You're conflating a whole rack of topics here. You
Right.
got me going for a loop.
I know,
feel like
because
you
y'all just took me.
ranting and venting, and I feel like I ain't even got the time to respond to all this.
No,
shit
no,
you're
because
saying.
we going from like we went from talking about getting hit, and then I was just oh.
So
okay.
let's talk about this idea of being aggressive, right?
Yeah, because
And
that's
this
where
idea,
it spiraled from.
Because what's interesting is that like society could have all moved at the same pace, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't because it was disrupted for people of color, right?
Mhm.
Black women didn't have a choice but to work alongside you guys. So when you sit down here and speak about aggression,
Mhm.
please understand that like even that habit of that way of life, it was kind of forced upon us. Like people are walking with PTSD from 400 years of ancestral like history.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can't discredit that shit. That like when you was getting fucked up, so were we.
I wasn't getting
Right?
fucked up with that.
Or when your ancestors were, right? Like black women were also experiencing that thing. So I think where the frustration comes in is that black men don't take the time to acknowledge that like
Facts.
like this anger don't come from anywhere. Like it's been
They said
carried
that in the
on like
article, too.
so like do people get upset? Do I get offended when I see interracial dating? It used to bother the shit out of me. I'm not gonna
Why?
lie. Because I felt as though for me, one of the ways that I held a responsibility in my community
Mhm.
was to bring my knowledge back to my community and develop it with someone that looked like me.
Exactly.
And not to leave it. And I felt as though it felt very easy for black men to say, like, I have an out and bounce. I have grown beyond it. Do I still have varying opinions? Yes, I do. And like I can't even sit down here and lie because me and my friends have had conversations about this shit for years,
Was
right?
it people that were married or dating, period? Like, if
I
you just
think-
want to go, try some.
I think it was culture shock shit because when I was living in the Caribbean, it never bothered me because I didn't pay attention to it like that. When I moved to DC, I went to an all-black school. When I went to Penn State, like it was like thrown. It was very different, and it was very clear like what the lines of distinction were. Right? It was like, up now you hit college. Now like you got to change your course of action, and you got to like fit a mold. And then it made me think about like the shit that we saw, like when you watch music videos and how it always promoted like. I'm not even going to go down that tangent. I'm going to make sure that I bring reliable sources. so
No,
that
I
can
get
quote
that. It was
shit.
just more or less a thought that came to mind. I wanted to ask you guys. So I wanted to transition. This is the article, right, in which we already discussed, and it was by Dr. Kristian H. And she stated that black women have not been allowed to be both black and female. Historically, we have had to choose our race over our gender. So
and
my
we often chose our race.
and my
Carry on.
question is, why do you think black women have to choose one over the other?
But see, that's the thing. Even you asking that, for us, it's
It's
a
automatic,
no-brainer. It's
right?
it's the no. We're black first.
It-
It's a no-brainer. We're black first.
And that's why like betrayal is felt, right? Because it's like, damn, like here I am claiming like, because black women birth black men, right?
Right.
Like you birth black men and women. So like you have to defend your child first, whether or not it's your child or not. There's a maternal instinct that exists like amongst a protective instinct that exists amongst women. Call it nature, whatever, right? Didn't ask for it. It's just so it goes. And that's why, so that is why it's natural for women to claim their blackness first because you can't alienate that because blackness pits below women anyway, right? Just on the high, like on the totem pole of whatever the hell you want to call it, of what has been acceptable in culture. I'm going off on a rant. See, that's why I shouldn't have had that coffee. Go right ahead.
No, but I'm just gonna say the same thing. Like even asking that question, I think that is what the article is also saying. The article is saying that black women by nature, well, that's how I see myself. I see myself as black first.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, I never looked at it as choosing one over the other. But that's why I say I see myself as a black woman. And that's why I was also taught about what they call triple threat oppression. Black women have triple threat oppression. Like we're oppressed 3 ways: by our race, our sex, and our status, essentially. Right? So we have those 3 strikes. You know what I mean? And the fact that, not to get at you, but even the thought of you asking why do we feel, for us, that's why she got like responded like that, because it's like a no-brainer. It's like when someone sees you, what they see first is black, and then they see you as then they see man. I think in general, the world, that's how the world views people. They see race first, then gender. It's not that we choose race. I'm saying perception. That's why I always get like confused with black people that think, I think all people of color that think that they're different some kind of way, when the world sees you as race first. The world sees race first. Period. I mean, unless you can explain otherwise, I think that's when people see you in the street, whether they're black, white, or whatever, they see your color.
No, I agree. It was just more or less a question that I wanted you guys to mainly answer. Because reading this article, it just I wasn't refuting anything that was said. I was just very much curious to hear the woman's perspective on it, because there was one part I did question, and it was stated by the young lady. She said, "Black men have a heavy burden to bear, and you have to have been taught and conditioned that it's somehow acceptable to dump that burden on black women." How do we as black men? This was something I kind of questioned within my own self, and just, how do we as black men dump our burdens on you?
It might not be specific to every black man, but I think that I felt that part because
it's a general statement, it's a big statement.
Right, but I'm saying it may not be specific, but I do feel overall that black men do that, and I think it has more to do with gender than it does race. So it's not about, I think men do that to women. Men in general dump all their shit on women. It's like, deal with it because I'm the man. Period. So her saying that, it's just adding to the fact that now it's black men doing it to black women.
Is this idea that we
dumping pretty much burdens on them? So when you say deal with it, what do you mean? I'm sorry.
Meaning like, I think men in general, the man is seen as like, all right, in a relationship,
a man is prideful.
But not only that, I feel like women cater to
their pride and their ego.
Yes, we cater to the pride and ego.
And it is the expectation that women do that. Burden? Yes, that is burdensome, because it's when I sit down here as a woman, right? And like hypothetical situation, sometimes I'm sitting across the table from a guy and I'm thinking, and this might be fucked up, that like, you don't know what the fuck you talking about, right? And like, or like, oh, you're dumb as shit. But I have to sit down there and like,
super fucked up,
and like, massage your feelings, assuage your feelings, and make you feel as though you're smarter than you fucking are, right? And if I don't, then I'm seeing as emasculating you, right? Or if I speak up too much, or if I speak up too loud.
In what setting?
In any given setting, like in your relationship, right? And I feel like this used to be with me with my dad. This sounds real fucked up. But even in a relationship, right? In a relationship with a guy, right? You might think that you have like this great plan about something, right? Finances or whatever the case might be. But like his ego like wants you to recognize that like, oh, I'm the guy and I'm supposed to be taking care of the bills, or I'm supposed to be taking care of the household bills. And I have to sit down there and watch you fail sometimes, right? Why? To make you feel as though like you're the man, because there's a huge emphasis on making men feel like they're men. Everything in the fabric of society, even the Bible.
Though I have a balance with that. Let me, because I know that people probably don't think that I think that way, but I do, and I do, because not to go off on a tangent. I do feel though that I feel the statement that says that it's a meme going around where it says that it's not that women don't respect. It just takes a certain type of man to get that respect, though. You know, and I do feel like once that respect is earned, most black women are going to submit. But you're only going to submit to something that you respect. That's always so. I do believe in catering. You have to. I think that, but you're supposed to cater to who you're with anyway, in my opinion. However, overall, case in point, you always see relationships most times where the woman sacrificed her dream for her husband's dream. We see that mad times. Case in point, in the movie when Angela Bassett ended up like burning his clothes and stuff.
Waiting to Exhale.
How many times have you seen that particular storyline? Black, white, doesn't matter. You've seen the storyline where the woman takes care of the kids. She put her aspirations to the side. She helped this man build his empire because that's
11 years.
Do.
I think we do it too.
Yeah, Randy.
Because when you like, I'm an artist. I've been with women where they like, yo, you need to get a real job, or you need to put that away and handle these bills. So it's like y'all kill our dream too, and we take away our dream to, you know, so-called do the right thing. Like, okay, well, let me get a real job, cancel my dream, make sure I pay these bills, make her happy. And then you end up leaving us.
But then, well, no. So, and that's when you have to decide whether or not you want to be in a relationship and be working toward building something. Because if that's the case, then you have to commit to that particular situation. Or if it is that you want to be pursuing a dream. And if you're a guy who happens to go and have a child, then sorry, you created an obligation. You need to take care of that obligation, and that is just so be it. Everybody has dreams, though, and it's quite often that it's particularly like women as mothers, where like even if that were the circumstance, they would have to put their dreams aside because, like, they're going to be left with that burden. I don't mean to call children a burden, but that's what, like, two people in a circumstance would look at a child as, right? And this is a hypothetical situation as well. Again, so back to a point that you were speaking about, because you were speaking about, like, catering to a guy and, like, catering to his pride, and I think that's fine, right? And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And I think, like, it feels so hard to talk that way because it feels so difficult to come by an opportunity where it is that and no, that's wrong. I think what the issue is for me is that there's not that much of an emphasis on the same type of treatment for women, particularly considering that, like, society has changed, right? And the expectations on women have changed, right?
Right.
Maybe back in the day, like, there wasn't as much emphasis because women weren't working. For black women, they have always been working. So there's never been a conversation around, like, what it means to treat that person correct. And when we speak and ask for it, it's like you're being loud, or you don't know what you want, or your expectations are too high, or this, or that, and you're emasculating. And that's some bullshit, and oftentimes it's coming from men. And that's why it is that from black men. Because white men already don't give a shit about you, right? And that's why, like, it's easy to understand what it is that this woman is saying in the article. The person is saying in the article, even though, like, there's no, like, methodological.
Take your time.
Methodical or
Methodological.
Ain't nothing back in it. Shit. Right? My bad.
She went through that
Another.
Well. Good job.
She Googled it.
But that's the thing. And, like, for me, like, even the Bible, right? Even the Bible speaks about, like, the hymn and the catering toward the men, and like even this is something that is so difficult for me to reconcile now. I know, and which makes it ingrained in the fabric. So, like, which makes it so exhausting because it feels like you're screaming and still nobody is hearing you. And this is why, like, this is how we feel as a black people about, like, when you're speaking to white people about, like, white supremacy and how it is and where it has put society. But this is how, like, as a black woman, I feel in just even articulating this shit to black men, because it's like, are you not hearing what the fuck I am saying? Like,
we hearing y'all say y'all don't need us. When y'all say, like, I don't need no man and stuff like that. But then y'all get mad when we leave the race because it's like, y'all don't need us. So it's like,
I had to learn not to need you. I feel like that's like such a cop out, and I feel like that has become a stigma too. I mean, we ended up. Let's just do real talk. Like, real talk. Women have said that, but let's be honest. Like, we know we need a man. Like,
so why say the shit?
Yeah, well, I hurt our feelings because it hurts.
It's easy to hurt.
It hurts, fellas.
There is no yin without the yang. You need each other to move forward. I completely acknowledge male privilege. Do I benefit from it? Absolutely, because I'm a man. But what we can't forget is the physiology, the biology of the situation. Like, we've reached this point in society within the last, couple hundred years. That doesn't negate the couple 100,000 years where men were physically bigger and stronger.
Right.
And, you know, society was built on those crutches of us actually going out and fighting and having to hunt and bring back the food while women birth the children and naturally would be at the home because you're with the child that you just bared. Is that right? No,
And that's
completely
godly,
bullshit.
but-
Because we are intellectual equals, if not inferior to women, in my belief.
Mhm.
Absolutely,
My belief as
1,000%.
well.
They more in college than us.
1,000%. Yeah, if we're not equal, then we're inferior intellectually to women. Let me establish that. But that trying to say that black men are the white people of black people pissed me off beyond belief, because do I benefit from male privilege that has been established by society? Absolutely. But have I implemented any of these policies? No. When I speak to white privilege, I'm not talking about, oh, this white girl doesn't want to date me because I'm black, or, oh, some old white dude called me nigga. I'm talking about the systematic shit that has been put in place, talking about redlining in the housing community. I'm talking about police brutality. I'm talking about job discrimination. I'm talking about that shit, the systematic shit that has been put in place to stop me. I am not responsible for implementing any systems that are hindering black women. Am I gonna?
I don't think you're responsible for them. I agree. I don't think you're responsible
for them.
So I can't.
So that like saying we're the white men,
Right.
but it's like that shit really hurt me to my soul. Like,
We ain't
how,
tryna-
yo,
we ain't
like
tryna
we're
break
in the
y'all.
fight together. It's not like I didn't put none of this shit in
overall
place.
sentiment
Like,
is
yeah.
not
We were
that
slaves
we're in the
together.
fight
It wasn't
together,
no-
though.
Go ahead,
The
Raine.
overall sentiment is not that we're in the fight together. That's what he was trying to say. And this is only an opinion, so it's not like, I'm just saying. I find that the more, and this is irrelevant to you guys, but these guys that really wear these conscious badges and that, they are the most sexist men
I can
ever.
agree with that. They're usually like the
And
Umars and all
right,
that. They
all
be
of them.
super-
They are
yeah,
they're
Superman
fucking
bullshit. I don't
sexist.
fuck
And
with
how
that.
can you be that intelligent and that well versed on history and really feel and be that like sexist towards women? And to me, he's speaking to those men. You cannot. We as a people, and this is the whole bottom line of the article, is that you can't do it alone, and neither can we.
Pretty much.
That's it.
Absolutely. I
And
agree with that.
The insult
babies
was to
alone.
say that black men don't, and I found this out because I made a post about it
I'm about to
earlier.
say, if you made another post and I did not see.
No, but and you know what I realized, because I analyze my following,
Okay.
and that's why I speak like that, because I feel like especially on Facebook, it's a younger following, and so they say a lot of ignorant shit, and then I
Amen to that.
realize that a lot of them don't know what sexism is. And
Of course
that's just
not.
a fact. And so I made a post and I said, you know what, black men don't really know what sexism is. Because they don't. You don't realize certain things are sexist. And that's the only thing, my disagreement, no, you did not put these things in place. But if you're not fighting or defending us, it's as if you're
Yeah.
perpetuating the shit. It's like
Yeah.
white people. If you're not fighting against like systematic oppression, then you're perpetuating it. And I think, so here's out. Ain't nobody saying that you're creating the systems, right? And not even you in particular, like men in general, right?
Yeah.
But when like rape culture and things of that nature exist so seamlessly in our culture, like those types of things perpetuate the fuckery. You know what I mean? Like those types of things perpetuate the shit.
I can
And
dig that.
like I think that's the easiest way to.
So we need more men that are
Speaking against.
One time, I can't think of how he said it, but one time I did a sexism topic, and no, not sexism, feminism, because now the new wave, they have this thing about, I see all these young guys going so hard against feminism, right? And I get it.
I was going to ask a question
White
about
lives
that. Go ahead.
matter. That's exactly what this shit is when they're going
But it's
against.
so like
All
ignorant
lives matter,
because
but
it's not, you're not, and I'm judging a particular group of guys that I see just as soon as anything feminist comes out, and it's like this bashing, because they think that, okay, we get it. It was created by white women. Once they found out that one little tidbit that it didn't include black women and that things were put in place that tried to exclude the black man from the family, they all run with that. But feminism, well, sidebar, I told y'all last week, I follow womanism. These things are needed. This term, rather, this ism is necessary because women are the oppressed. They are an oppressed group compared to men because of male privilege. So it's not something for you to feel threatened by. It's us celebrating being women. It's saying like, okay, the same way you said those all those things that you named, those things actually also affect women outside of being black. Just job discrimination,
Absolutely.
all those things you named.
Absolutely.
We deal with that just as women, not even as black women.
And I can dig that, but
but my only point is that's why it's necessary. Womanism, it's to celebrate and to empower being women. It's something. It's not for you. The same way certain things is not for us, for y'all. Like certain things is not like certain things y'all talk. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? I really don't know.
Dominant culture.
I'm like, you know what? Some certain things is not really for me to know about men. I'm saying like,
I get it. Yeah,
y'all have your own shit, and it's the same thing with us. It's not something for you to feel threatened by.
I don't think we are per se threatened by it. I think we feel threatened when it comes to a point where when the consensus of women are saying we don't need you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing, and you say like,
I think that's a misconception too.
I think we're also misinterpreting when that's being used, right? Because I feel like that's a general statement, and anybody says like I don't need you. Like we walk around every day talking about I don't need shit from nobody.
Independent and don't need a man is like y'all hand in hand, and it's coming like y'all just boxing us out. You know what I mean? You don't see men at BBQs like, yeah, fellas, put your pina coladas up. We don't need that. Yeah.
No, well, because I think the idea. Because I think you guys forget. But there's a huge population of women who were dependent on the livelihood of a man, right? Whose like livelihood, their ability to house themselves and clothe themselves relied on men. So it is easy to step outside of that box, especially when you've lived for a long time thinking as though like this is something that you needed to rely on. So I don't think it's people saying that they want to. It's just saying that I have the intellectual ability to provide for myself as well. I don't need your income in order to thrive in the very same way that a man don't need the income.
That's not what women been saying though. They've been saying no romance without finance.
No, but I don't think
and then Beyonce is like, all my ladies that's independent, and then it's can you pay my bills, and then it's to the left, I'm gonna throw you out.
No, don't get me wrong. Like, is there contradictions in the shit that people are saying? Absolutely. Are there contradictions? Yes. But I think you guys are misunderstanding what is being said, right? I think what like the big idea is like for a long time, it's as though like in order to have an opportunity in this world, I needed to rely on you, on your existence, and on you providing. And as a woman, I am capable of doing that for myself. It's not saying that I don't want to be in a relationship with you.
But don't tell us we ain't a real man if we ain't paying your bills.
No, but that's the thing. You're underestimating the idea of what real manhood is, right? And everybody isn't saying that. It's bird people saying that, right? And if it is that what you're drawn to, then my nigga, find somebody else to be drawn to.
Right.
Like, don't hold me accountable for who it is that you're attracted, like you attracted to, right?
Preach.
Hashtag just saying.
Are y'all holding men accountable for the feminism? Are y'all holding us accountable for the male like chauvinist thing, all men, or is it just a group?
It depends on what you say. Say more.
But I just think, what you're gonna elaborate on that? I mean, to continue on with this article, right? It also continue on saying. Do some self-evaluation and see how, this is again from Sister Kristian H, do some self-evaluation and see how you may be playing out toxic masculinity. She's speaking of black men masculinity. And stop. If every black man made these collective commitments, we could collectively change this narrative. So my question is, if toxic masculinity exists, should we all accept the fact that toxic femininity exists as well? Because
can we say not needing a man is toxic femininity?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
What was that again?
No,
What'd you say, Randy?
I don't think we can because I think,
I didn't
you
hear.
still didn't hear.
Can we say the term I don't need no man is toxic femininity?
No.
See, you got to accept it.
You got to.
I don't.
You got to go both ways.
I don't have to. I don't.
Before we even go there, first, do you agree that there is toxic femininity?
I think so. I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm
sorry.
as a woman,
I'm
we
sorry.
know y'all agree.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to need a moment to explain this.
I don't know if I agree to that.
Does
You don't think
Does-
toxic
No,
femininity?
I agree. Yeah,
does
yeah, I agree.
toxicity
No, we good.
in
We standing
promoting
deep.
feminism
Y'all on that
exist?
side, y'all good. I'm in the fire
Yes.
right now.
However, does it have the same impact that toxic masculinity?
Hell no.
And so, therefore, in the very same way that, like, one might say that, oh, I can't be racist because I'm black. Y'all can't hold me accountable to that because y'all dominate in this culture. And that's why I say it depends on what you say because, like, patriarchy is dominant culture. Like, male chauvinism is dominant. It has been, like, women were enslaved to men. And we haven't disrupted that yet. So until that is completely disrupted,
black men were
I can't
enslaved to
be
men,
that
too.
influential.
But what's toxic is toxic,
yeah, but
though.
I still fell under you.
But something that's toxic
We
is
made you
toxic.
slaves too?
No, I'm not saying that, but you perpetuated it.
I mean, I
And
think
then you left the community.
that speaks to the biology sometimes. Like I
Yes,
said,
yes.
it's like we haven't been operating in this intellectual society, but for maybe like, you know, a couple thousand years. That doesn't negate the 100,000 years before that when we were responsible for feeding and clothing and doing that for everybody. We're still evolving and making the transition into that. And like I said before, I think women are, if not intellectual equals, intellectually superior to men.
'Cause,
All of my entire family is led by women. My mom, my aunt, my grandmother. So for me to try to front on women would be almost like asinine for me to even try to say. But it doesn't negate all the shit that we came from. Like, you know, like
And-
we're still standing on the shoulders of that.
So I guess when you say
It was
that,
on our shoulders, period, at one point.
I guess when you say that, I guess I'm trying to understand. Like when you say it doesn't negate it, like what exactly do you
Like
mean?
being here now that we can just negate what we were
system.
established with. Yeah, like we
Yeah.
grew from that for 100,000 years. We were the ones that had to run out and get the food and get all of the clothing and do all of that
You're
and
speaking
build the
about
house
men.
and do all of that. Yeah,
Like you
But
make 30
is it-
cents an hour.
Yeah, but no.
Yeah.
I'm talking
And I
about
guess
before money, before currency, before. I'm talking about caveman. I'm talking about the biology of us. Like the makeup of us literally is us to be bigger and
Providers.
stronger and be providers. Like we can't negate the biology. Like there still are defined roles between the genders. I can't have a baby. I need you to have my baby. Y'all can't, you know, ejaculate together. We need each other. Like, and that's what I'm saying. There still have to be defined gender roles. All of this, all babies, gender,
Someone
X and all
taking that need
nah,
away.
that's
You don't need a man
bullshit.
anymore to make a
Like,
baby.
yeah,
But I
nah,
wanna address
absolutely.
that.
Like,
But that's also part of the system, right? So when women say, I don't like the fact that, because this happened, you know, you said it, and then you also said it. Independence cannot be something that's negative just because a woman is saying that she's independent.
I didn't use it in a negative connotation. I was just referring to the fact that when women do say it, it's to undermine the man.
It's
Or
not
together.
I
That's
don't
what
think. I think that's what it's perceived
how
as.
It
it's
happens
perceived.
sometimes. Can you
But
say
no.
Give it,
So to give it context, right?
Naomi
Give
Miss
it context.
Independent was kind of, you know, he
Exactly.
hit it right on the head. Like, you know, she don't need him. She aight by,
and
you
I
know,
thought
by
that
herself,
most
but
men would like that. He's
That was
singing
dope.
about liking a woman like that. And
No, he's talking about. You talking about Beyonce? Or
If I can
Neo?
say-
no, I was
To
saying
my
If
Neo?
I can
Miss
say-
Independent.
Can I?
Oh, yeah.
Can I
yeah.
operationalize the term really quickly?
Go ahead.
I le-
Just interrupt my thought. Go ahead.
Independent means not requiring or relying on something else, not contingent, not looking to others for like opinion or
And
for guidance.
Independent women, with that definition, it does not mean that I don't want you to take care of things. I really hate. I think that that's like such a super cop out.
You guys are conflating
And the
two
perfect
things.
Example
I don't
is
think
what-
we are.
Hold up, no,
Go
because
ahead.
the perfect example is what he just said, the Neo song. I thought that. Honestly, don't most men, wouldn't you want a woman who's independent,
I
who does
do.
not need you but wants you,
I
that
think some
now you can
insecure
take care of
dudes
her
don't.
because you want to take care of her, but she doesn't need you.
I'm all for that. I love the song. Love the
That's same
remix.
terminology. She doesn't need you.
I get that, but what I'm speaking from is from the point of trying to, and this is, I guess, where I'm trying to go at, is the fact that with women, essentially, and with the black man, it's more or less trying to, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, I feel like it comes to a point where women come off, or black women, I should say, come off as trying to emasculate the man with things like that, and it comes off
I
as,
think that's how it's received.
and No, and I feel like you guys are very, very, very
because when you
strategic
speak
on
about
that.
this idea of emasculating
I'm just
we're,
going by.
again, we're still speaking about your pride, right? It's not taking away from your livelihood.
Explain.
You still can eat.
You know why?
You still
Because,
you still living.
You know
but
why?
your pride hurt. Really,
Because most
Fellas,
I
y'all
feel
better not leave me out
emasculated.
here.
My pride is
Most
hurt. Like, look at
men-
this shit again.
Y'all
Having
better
to
not
feed your
let me
pride.
like
hanging.
most men like to be depended on. You want
It
right.
makes you feel
so
like
that's
a man.
The issue you have. You feel
Your pride.
You're making her.
I'm it's a
I'm
general
prideful
statement.
too.
No,
I
I'm
like to take care of my
saying-
goddamn
I
self.
feel you.
I'm saying that you're projecting. So instead of just receiving her as an independent woman, you're projecting that her saying I don't need a man is your own insecurity because most men like to be dependent on. You like a woman to depend on you. And some men almost on some sick shit go above and beyond to pay bills and just so I can have this over your head. Now, depend on me.
Yeah, that's kind of whack.
And I'm just saying,
That's
that's
phony.
essentially what I'm saying, that you're projecting because a woman says I'm independent.
No, that's not what I'm projecting. What I'm projecting is the fact that there are women out
I think
just like
she said, only birds, yo. Let's just be honest.
But it's a lot of birds.
Only bird. I mean, it's also your choice in women. You're dealing with birds, and that's
No,
what,
not even dealing with them. I'm just saying it's out there. Not that we dealing with them.
No, because that's who y'all talking about.
Yeah.
You're not talking about.
But we're
real
not talking about
independent-
dealing with them. We're talking about the women
No,
that are
you're
out
talking
there.
about women that you have dealt with. That's why. Am I not to get at you?
Mm-hmm.
Both of y'all. If you're saying that, if you have a problem with an independent woman, you
I don't
are
have a
dealing
problem.
with a bird type of female. Because any real woman that's independent, you should not have a problem with that.
You
not
should
have a
glorify
problem.
As long as it
that.
don't mean I don't need a man, period. I'm cool with
And
it.
I don't think that. And
But
I
once
don't
you
think
add
that's what
that
pe-
into it, like
Some of
I
that
pay
is
my
just
own
hurt.
bills.
Some of that
Again.
is just hurt. Like, come on. Some of that is just like, some of that is just hurt. If a woman ends up saying that, she's mad at the world. She got her heart broken.
That's
I don't
what it-
need
that's
no
You
I'm
know
saying.
what?
Maybe
And
I
I
need to-
agree, Raine, and I completely agree. A lot of that is hurt because if I were to say some shit like that, it's because I know like it
That's
would
what
hurt.
she dealt with.
and to be hurtful.
It's to be
Because
hurtful.
I'm hurt.
However, there is truth to the statement, right? And I think, and because of the truth to the statement, I think that's the thing that really pisses men off, right? Because need speaks to like a reliance, and the reality is, in this day and age, no one needs to rely on anyone in the same way. Like, it has changed, right? And that's just the fucking reality. And I think it's hard for like everyone to accept and like move beyond that and then try and form like the foundation of love on something else. Like, it's okay not to be needed in that way. Find another fucking way to need me. Like, what the fuck? Why
All
is
the
it
girls
we can't even
women I know
move?
are like that, and real talk, they bust their ass. And at the end of the day, to me, I feel like most women, no matter how independent they are, you're doing that also because that's how you're kind of also raised, like even by your fathers. That's why it's like weird to me.
You
women
want to
who
raise
were
your
raised
daughters to be
by
independent.
yes, they raised their daughters. I wasn't raised by my father though, but I'm saying that women who are raised by their fathers, for the most part, they're taught to not depend on no man.
Look,
I don't understand why
my
men have
daddy-
a problem with that.
My
For a
daddy
living.
taught me
I
how
never-
to change a tire, change
I
some
don't-
spark
Period.
plugs. Like, look,
I
my
don't-
dad made it so that I didn't have to rely on
And
certain
that's
people.
why you chose the right man that could take care of you. Because if I'm taking care of myself, you know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, that's my point. They're busting their ass and taking care of themselves. But at the end, I think every woman wants to be taken care of.
I just say be humble.
So,
then.
and the issue, like, and what it really boils down to is because we're so relying, like, they speak about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And they speak about like how you need the foundation or whatever the case is. Like, the foundation rests in like, I guess, having money to like support yourself, blah, 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 blah. As you move up the hierarchy, you get to like love and shit like that and self-actualization. And like, we can't get to self-actualization because people's fucking ego needs to be fed, right? You need to feel as though you can pay all the bills in the fucking house and like, and be resourceful in that way. When the reality is like women are calling upon men to be resourceful in a different way. And like to learn how to love a woman for who it is that she has to be in society now. And like, that's what's stifling growth amongst men. When we sitting down here still, like, when you trying to get me to say, but you still need, nah, nigga, I don't. I ain't lying.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
you
want
attract
right?
honey with bees.
I don't
mean, you
want you
attract bees with
guys-
honey.
I just want to just clear this up. I don't want you guys thinking like I'm solely basing like on. I have like this. I'm all for independent women. I was just going off of the notion where I've seen situations like that, and I've also encountered situations like that where it's things that are done to bring down the black man, and then it comes to a point where there's another hurt black man, and there's another a scarred black woman, and then that comes in cycles, and it happens again, and there's nothing, and it doesn't get fixed. So I was just speaking from that regard.
But that's
you know
also
what I'm
a part of adulting. I feel like you have to be.
I agree with that.
I mean, that's another issue in my opinion. You have to be adult enough to not put yourself in another relationship where you know it's the same cycle going on. Let me take care of myself. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that it has to do with growing up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like adult. But on the same token, just in defense of that, like again, the whole independent woman thing is also, unfortunately, it's a systemic. Now I don't know if it's systemic, but real talk. And y'all probably gonna hate this, but black men have been walking out on their family. I mean, white men have done it too. But since this is not like a new thing. I mean,
it's not. Come on now.
Yeah, but our family structure has been destabilized through slavery.
It was,
and a whole bunch
of course,
shit.
right? But it's your choice as a man to say.
We was type Wakanda
before
slavery. Like we was kind
it
of.
was like you know.
You have to question that. Why is that an epidemic in our community? Why is that an epidemic in our community where the man is missing from the family?
And actually, they've seen numbers that is kind of being over exaggerated. Like there are a lot more black fathers than they like to give us credit for.
Yeah, it's because of how they define it in statistics.
Is it
right?
fair to
it's
say?
Bullshit.
Is it fair to say?
Because America is still trying to destabilize our families. They do not want to paint that picture.
They like if you get rid of your black man, we'll give you welfare. We'll give you $500 a month for food.
That's still like a conscious effort.
But don't you think that's circumstantial?
We need each other, and that bullshit seed of us not needing each other from either side. A man saying he don't need a woman or a woman saying they don't need a man is absolute bullshit because we both need each other. The only way we're going to succeed and overcome is if our family structures are strong and sound, and we need each other equally.
Facts.
It's 50-50.
Yeah.
Forgive me. Let me, and I'm not retracting, right? I agree, right? And I wouldn't be like what. For real, like my damn master's thesis was on like community and the importance of community and just like building society, right? Yeah. So the reality is like as a community, we need each other to exist. Like we need to rely on each other to build a community. Absolutely. So of course, a man and woman need each other. I was just speaking about this idea of like of how we were speaking about independence when we're speaking about like whether or not a woman needs a man and like for the purpose of which it's said. The reality is I hate to hear this idea. I hate to hear women say, I'm independent. That shit irritates me.
Because you know
right?
what goes along with it. It's not the statement.
Because it became such a fucking cliche after a while.
Someone put me onto something that we're not essentially independent. You're interdependent.
Oh, community, society is, period.
Interdependent.
Yeah,
right.
What society is, period,
and
because we have to rely on...
Interdependent
is you have to rely on each other because you have to build like community laws and things of that nature. And you know, like we have to have a common language and yeah. I think we define independence in the realm of financial wealth, right? But not particularly what it means to carry about a society. And we think society is carried about just through finances, right? But language carries society, like the way that we interact with one another, the laws that we build, like all of that shit are parts of the fabric that we just don't fucking talk about because it's all about money, right, Reef?
Sometimes.
Cha-ching.
It's become the dominant thing in society, and that's why like it's been so easy. So when we've been referring to independence, we've been talking about like the ability to financially take care of yourself and take care of kids and blah blah blah. Yeah. Or whatever the case is, but that's because like that's what has become important.
I mean, the correlation I always make to things when people say, "Oh yeah, I could do it without." Yeah, like you could live without a kidney too, but you probably should have both. You know what I'm saying? Like you can live without a leg too, but like to have the optimal life experience.
I don't need no kidney.
Yeah, you kind of need both. So that's what I feel like. Yeah, we can survive.
I don't need no kidney to live,
but to be,
I'm alright. I'm be alright.
Yeah, but to be.
I hate you, Jody. I hate you too, girl. But. Like I said, I'm more for independent women. It was just the questions that in this situation, I was just curious to hear your thoughts on. I mean, with the article, it also states, black men are dividing us with their own actions on their own accord. Excuse me. They are doing that when they refuse to date black women. Refuse to date black women.
Now, I don't know.
Listen, I read this
article.
Can you read that again? Read that once more.
Sure. Black men are dividing us with their own actions of their own accord. Excuse me. They are doing that when they refuse to date black women.
Well, if you refuse
We're
to date
dividing?
your own race,
That speaks to some self-hate issues.
That's
Yeah,
some self-hate.
I think
That's
that
from women
speaks to
too.
self-hate. That's
Have y'all
bullshit.
seen that little dumb girl who's going viral?
Yes.
What?
I don't
Yeah, and
know.
they loving
You
her.
have to see
You
her.
think
No,
that
they're
shit is
hating
real,
her.
though?
They're
Nah, I'm
violating
talking
her.
about. I'm talking about when I say they though.
Which
Like,
yeah.
what dumb girl?
Some girl on
This
Dr.
black
Phil
girl who says
saying
she
she's
hates
white,
black
but
people and
she's
she
like,
thinks
Yeah.
she's white.
obviously black. Like super,
She was
like,
like
We not gonna
15.
give her
How
no
old is she?
energy.
She's mad
yeah,
young.
she's like 16. She's like super
and she's like, my
ignorant,
hair
like-
is straight, and I'm not
Mhm.
ghetto like black people.
Like black people are.
But her teeth are fucking
Woo!
jacked as fuck.
That
The
tongue
big-
in
It's so
jail
big.
like
That
a
gap is
motherfucker.
real.
Very
Apparently
good.
don't have
God.
fucking insurance.
Got
Them
black
shits
crackhead
raggedy
teeth.
as fuck,
So
for real.
why do you guys? I guess the gentleman. Why do you guys think black men stray away from dating white women?
I mean,
Black women. excuse me.
everybody is entitled to their preference. If
I
you are
can't
going
talk.
to say I am specifically not dating my own,
That's
when
self-hate.
your mother and your sister and your aunts look like that, then that speaks to something that you need to get over. I've gotten into this conversation with people a lot. You just need to work on yourself. I think that says you got some self-hate issues that you need to work on. With that being said, everybody's entitled to what they want to be with, man. If there was chicks that was purple, man, I'd probably like them too. Like, you know what I'm saying? And of course, to start to try to give somebody, to try to put some
What?
Bruh, I love women,
what are you
man.
talking
I
about,
love
man?
women. I love black women, but I love women. Period.
Purple.
So when I say
Wouldn't
purple,
mind a
yeah,
purple girl.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
man.
Yeah, if Tamal
Nah, I'm a Google
chick
purple.
from Pluto coming, they purple, they gonna be dope too. But like, I don't think unless you're like a politician or somebody in that realm, you have a responsibility to
Yeah.
have to be within your race. Like, it's 2018. I think that's equally as dumb as somebody, a KKK member or somebody like that. Like, to
But
say, oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do
like
that.
black men are dividing us. Like
If you
Well-
refuse to date your
Yeah.
race, that is divisive.
Yeah.
Mhm. That is
you're-
divisive.
How
you're
can
part of
how
the
can you
problem.
divide somebody that don't need you? How can you?
Yeah,
How are
get
you
back to
purposely dividing someone?
Oh,
That's
you
Elaborate.
sound like you're
Black
stuck.
women,
You
though.
sound like
Like,
you're
if
stuck
you're
back there.
stuck.
No, I'm not
Sound like
stuck,
you're
but I'm
back
just saying,
there.
if you're saying you don't need us, how are we
not
the
saying-
purpose of dividing that?
I
thought?
I
'Cause
think
you're
this
gonna
idea.
marry-
I think the idea of you creating a divisive community is what made black women like move to this idea of not needing you, because once they recognized that you were going to stray anyway, they decided,
I
you
think
know,
that's a bit
someone still
It
needs
was
to carry
it
the
was a
bitch
coping
forward.
mechanism.
I don't think I agree
They
with that.
had
I
it,
think
yeah.
that's a bit extreme by saying we are dividing what the culture
I-
of what
Anyone who feels
If
like
you're-
that
No,
is.
I
I
feel
don't
like-
think
agree
so.
with that.
I
I
feel
don't
like-
think so.
You
I feel like-
refuse to date your
Yeah.
race.
I
you
feel
do.
like particularly with communities, like when you pay attention to like communities, right? When you look
Yeah.
at the Jewish community, and when you look at people from like very close knit, strong Italian cultures, and when you look at people from West African cultures, historically, communities feel the responsibility of building up the community.
Okay.
So it's interesting that we approach this topic with like, how are we being divisive? I think like the question is why it is that we didn't take a greater responsibility in wanting to build up the community. Now, hear me out. I also like, on one hand, like, everybody love who they want to love, woo woo woo, like that's cute, right? Love that. However, like I can't stray from feeling this responsibility of wanting to build up the community, right? Particularly a community of people who has been condemned. I feel a greater burn and desire to want to date someone who looks like me, to have, like, if I were to have kids, have them look like me, because of the pride that I take. And I feel like when we say that, what we're speaking about is like what feels like this lack of sense of pride. Now, we can go on and say, like, but there's that one drop rule, right? Once you have 1/8 Negro blood, you're Negro anyway, so we just spread in the culture. But that's not what it's been, right? Because we've done that and, like, to make prettier babies, right? We've dated outside the race to have babies that are prettier. So because you're, like, in many ways, you're still, because you're denouncing, like, or who you were wasn't good enough. And that's the problem. And that's what creates the divide, when it is that we're confused about what we're doing. Right? When black men are confused about why it is that they're dating outside their race, and they put it to shit like, oh, they're too aggressive. Like, no. Like, are you listening?
Right.
Yeah, that's bullshit. I can't. I gotta.
I don't
agree
know.
with
I
that.
just think like I get what you're saying. I'm just looking at it as it being very extreme, as in we're dividing based upon preference, not based upon refusal completely. I mean, I don't think it's dividing. when it's based upon preference.
Read this sentence again.
No, are you saying
Yeah.
having a preference is cool,
Yeah,
but if
that's
you
what I'm-
refuse, if you
Yeah.
Refuse is a whole
The
nother word.
sentence,
that's
they said
wild.
refuse.
Yeah, I know it said
Crazy.
refuse.
Like, you could like Asian chicks, like with them, whatever, bro. That's what floats your boat. You want a little sucky, do your thing, bro. But when you say, yo,
What?
I'm never fucking with no black woman ever, nah,
Like,
that's bullshit.
I
bro.
would quicker
I
respect a
get
black
that.
man who's like, I'm gonna have some children with a black lady, but I'm gonna go marry someone else of preference. Like, I respect you because at
Yeah.
least you had a responsibility to build up a
Okay.
race. Like, let me go create some black babies, right?
Okay.
And then go like to somebody who's not gonna yell at me or whatever the case might be.
And for that
It's still
reason
not respectable, but
alone,
still.
Yeah.
even though I'm not I don't really. It's probably a contradiction, but for that reason alone, I'm not. Even though I'm not anti any black person that finds love outside their race, but I
Perfect.
feel like as a conscious black woman,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of just defeats the purpose. If you're truly in tune, it's something that you would feel bad about doing
No, I dig it.
because it's about
Responsibility.
responsibility to not only the community but because they're out here trying to kill us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
shit.
saying? So it's
We all
like,
gotta come together.
And we all can't lead the race.
but
And
I
I
don't
know-
knock people. If you found because you know what was interesting, who made me see it, Maya Angelou. If you watch her story on Netflix too, her documentary, she fell in love with a white guy,
Yeah.
and but she felt burdened. Like she felt like she couldn't come out and say that or marry him because she felt like the community would bash her.
Now, come
especially
on, Maya.
being who she is.
Mhm.
I
But
get that.
it's like,
It's real
damn,
shit,
I
though.
can't fight for, but someone like that who's on the front lines fighting, I guess you can judge, but it's like, why can't you do both? Not to go off on a tangent, but like you can't. I feel like you can do both.
I think you can
Bicultural.
as well. I think you can as well. It was just a question, more or less.
I know all of the Hoteps are probably gonna hate this.
Probably.
Shout out to the Hoteps.
Shout out to the Hoteps.
Yeah, they gonna be kind of salty.
But I mean, and in all honesty, like I'm glad we had this conversation because it's more or less, I was ignorant to some facts or that I've read based upon this, and I'm glad to have gotten insight from you guys. So
Well, you surprisingly actually agree with the article.
yeah, I agree with the
Most
article.
black, they bashed
You didn't
him.
agree with the article.
They
I-
hated the title.
Yeah, I
but
think
again,
like he made some strong ass statements
Yeah.
that weren't really like factually true, right?
Yeah.
I think it was just really about evoking emotion and getting folks to see like the shit felt oppressive. But it wasn't. But I also understand this thing because like white privilege is real, right?
Absolutely.
And so like to say that black men are like imposing that same thing is kind of like it's a strong.
Yeah, that's a
statement.
little bit too much.
Yeah, like we're not responsible for any
I think
genocide.
he's saying more that you're ignoring
Yeah.
that, like them, like it's the same thing. Like I forgot how my boy
This-
used to say, if you ask a man to get a black man to understand it, right? You have to like. I don't think that black men understand that we deal with both.
Mhm.
That's the issue,
Mhm.
and that's what it brings back to what your original statement was about being black and being a woman.
Mhm.
Most black men are not understanding that we deal with both, and this is where I feel like even though I'm pausing like about to call him. I gotta get a short. I gotta get a short.
You know,
Name tags
yeah.
and shit for a
Me.
second.
Right.
Lefty,
Even
purple,
though
Lucky lefty.
for the most
You know.
part you're in tune
Mhm.
with the woman's role as far as us as a people, it's still kind of like that's essentially what he's saying. That you're saying because you benefit from it, it's not your fault. No one's saying it's your fault, but the fact that you benefit from it and you don't necessarily speak out against it. Black women essentially need men to speak for them. Just like how white
Yep.
people, black people need white people who
To speak
get
out
it to
against
speak
racism.
out against racism. It's the same exact thing. We
Yeah.
need men to speak for us.
Because ain't
Not
nobody
for us, but
listening
about
to
that.
us.
And with
They're
the
not
last
listening.
article, Homegirl broke that down and pretty much essentially compared it to how how white people compare compared to black men or black people when it comes to racism. And she
Right.
pretty much compared it to sexism.
And that's the
So I get
analogy
that.
I always go
Yeah.
to. If you don't understand sexism, that's how you
Yeah.
have to look at it. Sexism is to women what racism is to
black people.
I mean, to
people of
essentially
color.
get rid of all the, pretty much sexism and
And we deal with
and
both.
racism and the isms or the negative isms, we need to be together. We need to unite. So, I mean,
Black people unite.
Yeah.
Black
Let's all
people
get
unite.
down.
Oh,
Got to have it.
okay.
What about being a receptionist? Like, I used to be a receptionist, but technically, that is labeled.
Yeah, but I've seen a lot of male, and I don't think nothing of it.
I mean,
You got your suit on.
yeah, nurses too.
But how do y'all feel about, is that women's privilege when y'all get those jobs more than we do?
No, I just
No.
feel like that's how the story was written. Like, is it men's privilege that that
Most
more of
men
them are
applying for
CEOs?
those jobs.
That doesn't happen in society, though, where women get those
That's
jobs
definitely
more
male
than men.
privilege, though.
Yeah, but that's still because like somebody's mindset needs to be disrupted, and they think and
And
like
that's also the male CEO. It's like I want a nice looking female who's greeting my customers.
so who's
I don't
hiring
want
them?
this guy, this manly guy in the front. I want a woman in the front.
We don't want Donald.
Hey, Don, did you get my messages?
Nah, but I get that. I had this conversation actually at a summer institute at our network, Q, and one of the discussions it came about as far as like men working or teaching in the school, which is pretty much dominated by women, and we are the minority essentially. And I was explaining my truth, whereas when I first started teaching, I felt like I had to prove myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I was up against seasoned teachers who've been teaching for years, and I felt like I needed to really like show that I was not just a tall black man who can just discipline kids.
But
Exactly.
who
That's
did
how I'm
you
feeling
who
right
did you
now.
feel like you needed to prove yourself to?
Excuse me?
Who did you feel like you needed to prove yourself to?
To just the women population. Because I started off at pre-K, and I remember sitting down with these 5, 6-year-olds, model, what I'm saying, changing my voice, trying to read them stories and doing nap time and shit. And it was just like I had to learn from that, and it was a daunting experience because I felt inferior. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy how that could, spin off to what we was discussing because, in that regard, women are dominant in that field, and I felt like I had to prove my rights to passage.
And I
to that,
oftentimes
which is crazy.
like share even like with stuff like that, and this is not to like discredit that experience, but I feel like that might be what the women's experience is in just society every day.
That's what I was going to say. That's our everyday experience.
Okay.
And sometimes men are privileged enough to experience it.
So here's the thing, though. When y'all do that kind of like does that trump my experience?
It's not
No.
trumping your experience.
No,
It's
I'm just asking a
Your-
question because
yours
one man
is
wouldn't see that.
Your experience is just, it doesn't happen as much.
But
Because you have the privilege. So
Okay.
this time you found yourself in a situation where you weren't the
you weren't dominant.
you weren't
Yeah.
the dominant one.
Yeah.
And we're letting you know we experience that on a
Every
more
day.
regular basis
That's
than
what
you do.
exactly it is. And that's
Nobody's
why
trying to
only
trump you.
certain
It's just
men
what it is.
can
No, I get it. I'm
To me, that's why only certain men get it because they have to
Yeah.
experience it, and that's why I also see why a lot of men lose some of the sexism when they have daughters.
Yeah.
They start to
Yeah, they
realize
recognize.
Yeah.
what women go through, and because they love their daughters so much, they see what their daughters are subject to.
Yeah. As an MC, I got a daughter, and it'd be hard for me to like write certain lines because it's like, oh, you got a daughter now. That's a little far fetched.
You
So
take
I've
a
slowed
certain different
down.
kind of care
But-
towards.
You be like,
women.
what?
It's like humans where you have to like you tell a human something and they have to go look at it for themselves. So they gotta
Yeah.
go prove it for themselves. Like
Yeah.
It's the same damn thing. Like you're not gonna believe that shit until like
Yeah,
your
because
experience.
dudes will dog out women until they have a daughter,
Yeah.
and they be like, yeah.
And it's just like, why the hell couldn't you hear me saying this shit all along?
I can dig
Right,
it.
but now you feel it because you want to protect her.
I dig it. Carnegie Kid, you was real quiet, man.
He like sometimes you
about
just
what?
gotta dig it, man, and leave it alone.
Nah, quiet. Nah,
You ain't riding?
Nah, of course. You heard.
Hey,
I
cool.
made my piece. I'm saying, I said what I said.
Carnegie, are you riding?
Pause.
Yeah, bro.
Whoa.
That's all I said. Are you riding? That's all I said. That's why I
Female-
That's a pause.
Drop a bomb for that.
Hey yo, Mr. McCray. Hey
Hey, yo.
Yo, females
Hey,
can pause you too.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
Hey yo, hey.
But I mean,
The female pause. We gotta do a show about
female pause.
female pausing
I
men.
only do this because my boy does this and it annoys the shit out of me. And he pauses everything. So now when I get like around people, I just be pausing shit.
I do the whole "that's what she said" thing for everything too.
Oh.
So
Yeah, that's
it's-
what she said.
Yeah, that
But
shit is funny.
Yo, pause is like 20 years old.
It is,
here
they
and
still
there,
pause it.
But it's cool.
Some things
But
are paused. Like
it's one
you
of
need to
those.
say it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's all right to go back
But
in a time
Carnegie,
capsule.
Are you riding? Is definitely
Carnegie, are you riding?
And you say
Hey,
it
you
Hey, yo,
when you
Mr.
repeat the pause,
Hey,
it's
yo,
like a
hey,
double.
yo, Mr.
Paul,
Craig.
you know what? You know what I'm saying? We grown men over here. No
Grown men,
pause.
yeah.
Leave me
Straight
the fuck-
masculinity.
Leave me the fuck out of all of this shit that you doing, bro. Do your shit, but
Episode 9.
Episode 9,
And we out.
and I'm mad we ended on Macho Man.
yeah.
Yeah, dig it.